Why is moderation not a benefit for the Conservative Party?
See her talking to black voters. There's a clip of her walking around to everybody saying, I was proud to work with Barack Obama. She's obviously laundering his name and using it for that purpose.
You realize
Laundering his name? I mean, if she had any association with him, why would you not talk about it? That's completely and totally fair. Also, I don't like sometimes when somebody lies and then when they get called out on the lie, they walk it back to a different statement. And it's like, well, hold the fuck on, because before you said...
I'm not really seeing that anywhere. If you happen to have it...
Also, by the way, if I remember correctly, that statement would have just stood completely and totally unchallenged unless MrMouton would have like stopped and asked, hold on, is this true? Otherwise, that would have just gone by as a completely false statement that everybody just believed and maybe repeated themselves.
I think we need people like Kyle Kulinski to get ICE reformed. I think we need agitators who say a bunch of
like, this is just retarded. I don't know what the engagement is here with politics. Why do we need people like Kyle Kulinski for ICE reforms? This is like the mainstream position right now, I'm pretty sure, of the Democratic Party. Like, why?
DSA is poised to swallow the Democratic Party. Oh yeah. Whole. Oh yeah. And we'll be stuck voting for Hassan Piker for president by 2028.
All right. Find legitimacy to that claim if you can, Jolah.
The Democratic Party is going to be overcome by the DSA like it's a growing cancer, and we're going to be hoodwinked by the same radical forces that MAGA did. That's essentially the big argument.
Sure.
Terrifying, yeah.
Now, what...
Democratic Party is going to be overcome by the DSA like it's a growing cancer, and we're going to be hoodwinked by the same radical forces that MAGA did. That's essentially the big argument.
Sure.
Terrifying, yeah.
Now, what do you find any legitimacy to that claim? My expectation is that you might disagree with it.
No, unlike some liberals, I'm very confident in the Democratic Party and liberalism. I think that progressive liberals and center liberals can power through the DSA wave, and we need more liberals to critique the Democratic Party because, I mean, the party, where the DSA did win, it could have been very easy for that to not happen. So like Zoran Mamdani, that is what started this entire thing, right? When it comes to all these other candidates elected in New York City. If the Democrats did not support Andrew Cuomo, if there were not thousands of staffers to come out for Andrew...
Does anybody know, for who follow these elections closer, was Cuomo really the best bet there?
I mean, I don't think he was the best bet. No, I think that good people didn't fucking run.
Yeah, but why Cuomo?
No clue, man.
Cuomo, and they supported another option that was still progressive.
It really feels like there's not too many elections where I can draw from, but I guess looking from the few that I have seen and have followed, it feels like there's a big over-reliance sometimes on past electoral
Previous
experience.
names, yeah.
So like if you held any office ever, they're likely to potentially dramatically overweight like your electoral chances, I guess. I don't know, that's what it feels like. But
like a Brad Lander, maybe we never get Mamdani, and even with Andrew Cuomo being such a crappy candidate, it was still a pretty close race.
All right.
And then also, wait, checking the DGG temperature. The Cuomo stuff was bad, right? That wasn't like a nothing burger. Like there was actually probably some bad behavior there.
He had like 5 or 6 women, I think, come out against him. So yeah, it sounded pretty bad.
Okay, bad burger. Okay.
Well said. Then we will move on. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Mouton, if you wouldn't.
It's a thought that the DNC decides who runs. I would guess he decided to run on his own. Well, there's like coordination with the party to some extent, right? Like, are they going to fundraise for you? Can you expect broad party support from people endorsing you? Like, if the DNC really doesn't want you to run and you decide to run anyway, you're probably not going to get any official party infrastructure support, and then endorsements are going to be light. And if somebody runs against you that's more DNC backed, they will lend funding and assistance to that person. You know.
Mind reading from your scroll.
It would be better to have Stalin, Mao, or the dreaded Francesca Hong in any political position over a MAGA candidate, even at the state level.
So, Mr. Mouton, are you able to find any legitimacy to this stance?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically just saying, like, it would be better for somebody aligned with the Democrats, like Francesca Hong, to be in the position of power over a MAGA candidate, because the MAGA candidates might do something absolutely crazy, like we've seen time and time again.
Yeah, it is precedented. But what's your actual stance on this issue?
My actual stance is Francesca Hong will have to earn my vote. It's still the primary, so you can say anything you want about her as long as it's not like super crazy. But also, I think that she would be detrimental to the Democratic Party. I think that the DSA is a pretty big threat to the Democratic Party, and they're not here to be allies. They're here to subvert and stab us in the back.
All right. Well, I think that was nice and concise. We will go ahead and end this segment. It was a great round of Straw Man, Steel Man to get us started.
Good job,
before
guys.
we jump all the way into the conversation, I would also like to officially welcome our guests to the actual marketplace of ideas. And when I say actual marketplace, I do mean fake marketplace. It is not a real one. We do not actually have any gambling, but we do have a fake stock list where we have the creators who come on our show. And as you can see at the bottom, we've got JolahPolitics, MrMouton, and WhickTV all waiting for someone to scoop up some fake shares with the fake currency that we run our Discord server with, we call GriftCoin. So if you want to join our Discord and participate in that and show your support for the creators that you like the most, that is one way you can do so. If you'd like to support our channel, please consider visiting our YouTube channel and giving us a like and subscribe on this video before you go back to the streamer of your choice with whom you are currently watching.
We are new to the game, but we are growing and learning. And much like the DSA, we're going to swallow the discourse whole.
Brilliant.
Yeah, real good at swallowing here.
What is the What is the political persuasion of these guys hosting the show? Are they like lefties or?
One is a commie, and the other one I think is like lib.
Okay, interesting. Okay, it's always good to see more. I feel like there haven't been new shows in like a long time. So, did you ever watch any of? Did you ever watch any of Cherry's stuff when she was like hosting shows? Oh
No,
man,
the only one I watched was like Prime K's and stuff.
the worst thing about Cherry's, I guess whatever is going on mentally with her, is when Cherry is like on, when she's trying. It's really, really, really good content. Like she's funny, she's super smart, and the few, I want to say she only did, maybe I'm just thinking of the ones that I was on, but I feel like she only did like maybe 4 or 5 of those panel things. But yeah, she was really good at it. It's unfortunate, but anyway, okay.
With that said, discourse. We do indeed have a long-going discussion amongst the left as of late on the internet in regards to the DSA's pull and influence within the Democratic Party. And with the three of us, I don't want to preempt your opening statements too much, but my understanding is that we all collectively recognize some negative qualities of the DSA that we should be aware of. So since we seem to have that common ground, as you give your opening statements, I'd like to pose a few questions towards you. One, is the DSA more dangerous?
Holy shit. That's a keynote tweet of the year right there.
What one?
Checked in on the schizo horseshoe, and it's just too perfect. The Hunter Biden interview, Tucker Carlson and Hunter Biden. The laptop came from Israel. Would that make sense? Israel would definitely prefer Trump to Biden.
Would they?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, because Biden, he can't be duped into...
No, Trump is a massive Israel dick suck. Oh, wait, hold on. The FSB guy who lied about Biden is Israeli, by the way. Wait, was he? Is he? Oh, shit. Hold on.
Maybe it is Alzog.
My Hamas appreciation is... I'm trying to think, would the Mossad do that kind of thing in the United States?
So it was a bird who dropped the laptop into the chimney.
Well, the information that was being traded on in Ukraine was already available. Or I'm sorry, that was in the laptop was already being traded on in Ukraine, so it was already available. There's nothing like a priori that makes this immediately impossible.
Somebody already hacked like the laptop?
Yes, that's one of the big talking points against that laptop was that all the iCloud, all the information, everything on there was already being kind of like trying to be sold in Ukraine months before Giuliani ever got his hand on it. So other people could have theoretically gotten that information, planted it on the laptop, and then dropped it off. Right? My obvious assumption would be it was Russian in an attempt to get rid of President Biden. Right. I mean, technically, this guy is Israeli. Alexander Smirnov was the FBI
Israelis wanting
informant.
to sell it. That makes sense.
This was the guy who basically started the Burisma conspiracy shit. He was born into a Russian-speaking family in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Was raised speaking Russian. They moved to Israel in '92. There was a big Russian exodus, or is that what you call it? Exodus? Not diaspora, from, or not Russian Jew flight of people after the fall of the Soviet Union to Israel. Became an FBI informant by 2010. Lived in California for 16 years. He admitted having links to several high-level Russian officials. God damn. American Express sued Smirnov in 2013 after he failed to repay $100,000 of credit card debt. How do you have $100K in credit card debt? He borrowed $500K from Encino-based firm D&D Marketing and was sued in 2015 when he didn't repay that loan. He was a dual U.S.-Israeli citizen and had both an Israeli passport and a U.S. passport, both were seized by the FBI.
So you're noticing, huh?
Well, no, I mean, there's technically nothing like immediately.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. The only thing would be Israel running like an op like this in the United States would be
crazy, right?
It would be pretty crazy. Not on the level of like assassinating like Charlie Kirk. There's no
this
way.
is like
but
we're cutting off diplomatic ties. No,
I'm not sure.
Influencing our election.
It would now. Yeah, this would be a pretty big deal if they got caught. It'd be really bad. Yeah. Okay. Interesting, but okay. Yeah. There need to be more information about it, but yeah.
It just seems like the risk reward is not there because the risk is so crazy. Like, they're only fucking defenders.
Maybe, yeah.
Are we not? If you're not concerned about the DSA, is it because you think that they don't have the strength and capability of taking over the Democratic Party in the same way that MAGA did the Republicans? And 3, where are your lines when it comes to voting for DSA candidates? With that, Wick, if you wouldn't mind starting us off, please let us know your thoughts.
Sure. I pose the DSA.
Why would they use an Israeli to push this then? I don't know if Russia was working with this guy to use him to start this false theory. I would have to look at the origination. I just know that the guy lied initially for it. But Russia was trying to find a lot of ways to pump this story in the U.S. media, and it wasn't working in Ukraine, so the laptop story ended up being the one that caught.
Wick, if you wouldn't mind starting us off, please let us know your
Sure.
thoughts.
Aren't you being anti-Semitic by even entertaining the idea that Israel could do anything nefarious? That is true, actually, yeah. And if I want to remain consistent with my past positions, we're not allowed to criticize Israel in any way, size, shape, or form here, because that's definitely the same thing as saying AIPAC is unilaterally controlling the outcome of every single election in the entire United States by subvertly communicating with Israel and Netanyahu in order to influence U.S. elections. So good point, Chatter. Good one. Thank you.
So I don't think DSA is as dangerous for a couple of reasons. So number one, it is their lack of ability to get power, but also who the DSA really is. Now, MAGA is made up of radical, like, I don't know, 50-plus-year-olds, maybe between the ages of 45 and 70 around, the generation that was lead poisoned the most. They are very stuck in their ways. They're going to be like that forever. These are the people that supported George Bush when he was saying crazy shit like, it's a holy conquest for us to go into Iraq. These people are not going to ever change. But the young people, I know people who were probably DSA adjacent when they were in their 18s, 20s, 30s, especially during, who are older now, especially during like Vietnam protests, who very quickly, and they were like radical hippies and whatever, who very quickly voted as just like normal liberals as they got older. The DSA is a bunch of kids, and there are very deep issues on just the social environment around the DSA and the Democratic Party in organizing circles that make it really easy to get young people attracted to the DSA, which is something we can go into at a different time in the conversation. And also, yeah, their ability to get power. America, they can flick with everything that has ever been America. So I really don't think they can ride with the culture. Republicans can have the majority white Christian football culture, and the DSA can barely even talk about Thanksgiving. So.
Okay, well, much appreciated. Thank you so much for that, Jolah. And Mr. Mouton, if you would be so kind, give us your opening statement as well.
Yeah, my opening's gonna be pretty short and sweet. The DSA have wacky policies. It's voted on. They have like a national committee every 2 years or 4 years. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is. And that's what these people want. They want to abolish the police. They want to get rid of the Senate. They want to have open borders. So why should we not be scared of them? They're telling you exactly what they want to do. I don't understand people who are like, oh, well, they won't be able to do it, blah, blah, blah. These people are at a crucial point where you kind of need to kill the baby in the crib.
Jesus.
Okay. So a couple marks of disagreement there, but hopefully it will be a better discussion for it. With that, we'll open up the discussion.
Yeah, I guess I just don't like this idea that many on the left have decided, because MAGA is the enemy, and MAGA is very, very bad. It is the enemy. It is very, very bad. That they're giving a blank check to people who oppose MAGA, right? They will literally vote for anyone who opposes.
Hopefully they'll get into this. I think the thing that I focus on, the reason why the DSA types scare me more than like the weirdo progressive people ever scared me, is because the DSA people have shown that they actually have like a political savvy, that they are more aware of messaging, and they won't, generally speaking, they won't self-sabotage as much, at least the ones that understand how to do the messaging. Whereas for progressives, like, I love you guys and I love my woke people, and I am a woke person, okay? And I like my woke people more than I like the socialist types. But like, these progressive people were literally defending, was it a Harvard lady who wrote that essay on like why it was okay to kill white people? Like, I'm not even exaggerating when I said because I thought that was an exaggeration, and I went and I read it and I was like, what am I thinking of? She's like, if I had a revolver with 6 shots. Does anybody remember the essay I'm thinking of? We read this and I was like, Jesus Christ, you motherfuckers are crazy. You gotta chill the fuck out. The DSA types are not like that.
This MAGA, no matter how bad, no matter how much long-term damage they want to do. And I understand, right? A lot of people are trying to kind of minimize the damage that the DSA could do if they were to gain power, by saying things like, well, as Mouton said, right? Like, they just won't have enough power to implement the policies that they actually want. Yeah, but you wouldn't vote for someone who's like, my policy position is I'm going to kill you. But don't worry, I don't have the votes right now to do that, right? You never vote for someone like that, because in the off chance something happens and they would get that power, you know what they're going to do. Just don't do it. I don't understand. And this is to you, Jolah. I see you running cover all the time for these people, right? Like this soft cover of, don't worry about them. They're not that bad. They're all just a bunch of kids. And we need to have a discussion of how much they've already infiltrated these spaces, right? It's really bad.
My issue largely is that I don't see people like you, Wick, criticizing the Democratic Party. And I know we've had this discussion before, but if you go to a local Democratic Party, like Democratic Committee or whatever, Democratic Committee, I don't want to give away, blow my cover, Democratic Committee, but it's going to be a bunch of 45-plus-year-olds. It's going to be maybe the average age might be 60, 70, 80. So there are people literally in cities who are...
How do you explain the crazy interviews of the DSA chairman lady? I don't know. More and more, and I might be giving too much credit to that person that emailed me, it kind of seems like the DSA national thing is just kind of meme-y. They're just like not, I don't know. I'm just not really sure what all they do, and maybe those people are kind of unserious. But like the heart of the DSA is actually the DSA New York chapter. That's the thing to kind of like keep your eyes on. These are the people who are doing the real politics. These are the people who are expanding their political power. they seem to have a grasp on things way more than that. The DSA national chapter, which is kind of
Don't
like a
they
joke.
follow what the national people want, though?
I don't know as much if that's true, but I mean, one thing that was said to me was that like they've gotten into conflict with the national chapter before and basically threatened to just quit like the entire thing. Like the New York chapter was like, we'll just walk. And it feels like it feels like the New York DSA chapter is a far more serious political entity than like the national thing.
I mean, I would prefer that.
Wait, Hockey Hater, link me that if that's true. Hassan struck your talking point on interview types and said the DSA co-chair did not adjust to that type of interview by explaining the difference between the same side versus hostile interview. It would be really annoying if there were a lot of lefties that hate watched me, but they just stole all of my like media analysis and then they just used it to like build their that would be very fucking annoying because they have done it well. Like the far left people, this is my number one complaint and my number one concern is the far left people have absolutely figured out how to emulate the MAGA approach to politics in terms of like media and rhetoric and everything.
From more affluent, white backgrounds or whatever backgrounds, where they can afford to pay dues, or they just go to the meetings for fun because their friends go. And it's the only place where there's organizing happening where it's going to be younger people. Now, Democrats can either say the DSA is a cancer and all this crazy stuff about it, or they can try to compete with DSA where they are very effective. And
Someone said on YouTube chat, DSA New York City and National DSA are at each other's throats 24/7 because DSA New York City is more right-wing and moderate, and National is lots of MLs and Maoist types. Yeah, what was in the email the person described the two different strategies. It was like you could either have a clean break
Or a dirty break.
or a dirty break. I don't remember if they said there was a difference in approach between the National and the New York people on that, though. I'll have to go back up and read. But the New York types seem to be a lot more sensible, pragmatic. And insofar as when I say pragmatic, I mean that they're having like a serious attempt to like subversively exercise political power. Whereas like your national branch types are like, if you're going to run, you should run on the platform Stalin is good. Whereas like the DSA types in New York are like, you should run on we need Medicare for all, and then we'll do some sneaky shit in the future, basically. They're far more strategic is the word I'm looking for.
question is largely, and I wish we had someone involved in like direct DSA. I don't know much about what DSA does to know if there's anything they do in particular that can replicate that. If that's just going to be where all the college age people go naturally. If many of them do that, yeah, it's really difficult to find that balance. I feel like we can defeat the DSA rather easily. I genuinely, and I know people say I'm a secret DSA agent. I think people saying that about me is honestly part of the brain rot, the Hassan derangement syndrome happening online. If you think I'm not going to be your ally in your movement, then you're going to fall into.
Why shouldn't the DSA members run?
Wait, oh, that was Video Moon.
Online. If you think I'm not going to be your ally in your movement, then you're going to fall into.
Why shouldn't the DSA members run as their own party? Why shouldn't they just run under the
should.
DSA?
They can. Yeah, they should. Well, my big thing too, as well with like Francesca Hong, who are you if you're going to say we're against MAGA? Who are you to say Wisconsin Democratic primary voters are wrong? Who are you to say that Maine Democratic primary voters are wrong when they want a more populist candidate? Are you saying that the will of the Democratic voters of Maine and Wisconsin just don't matter now because they supported a DSA candidate?
It's not that they don't matter. It's that I have issues with the voting populace.
That was an insane pivot. Jesus.
If they elect someone who is bad for democracy, I have issues with the voting populace who elected Trump. Right?
Okay, if you don't like the voters, you can say that.
Are you just against the will of the people now? Because
Holy shit, that was a crazy fucking irrelevant pivot, but okay. It's just two separate arguments. The subject is not like, do you agree with the will of the voters or whatever, right? That's a totally different conversation topic.
you oppose Trump because Trump got the popular vote. You should be okay with the will of the people. No. What is this argument? Sorry.
Oh, true.
Well, he did become president, and Trump should have become president because people did vote for him. I would prefer they don't do that. But we're talking about our fellow Democrats, our fellow No Kings protesters. If they look in Wisconsin, for example,
Plattner or Hong, you're not my fellow Democrat.
In Hong, for the Hong case, there's like 10 other candidates in the race. The one that was competing with Hong had some type of like financial disclosure issues because a dumb intern like double or triple reported every donation they were getting. They were saying there were ad expenditures that were not even real. So she had to drop out. And the person who they have running against Hong now, he said that he joined back into the race after he failed his campaign because he got a message from God in the form of a red bird that his wife saw. And because she saw this red bird, he knew it was his time to run. And he's campaigning going around saying, "Hey guys, we can't really do anything." I'll be honest. I mean,
it's less crazy than abolishing police. I've seen some of Crowley, the gentleman who is the direct competitor with Hong now. I've seen some.
Fuck. Now, this Jolah guy heavily misrepresents things to favor a lefty messaging point a lot, or lefty talking points.
Oh, yeah.
Heavily. Is that what he just said there about, is it Crowley? Is that true? I know I got that huge email where somebody was trying to explain like how wacky and fucked up all of the Wisconsin shit was. And I don't remember him, maybe he said that he got a message from God or something, and that's kind of retarded, but...
His wife got a message from God, I believe.
Oh, sure. Okay.
The red bird thing is real, I believe.
Sure, but like, what... Is it like seriously the fact of the matter that he felt like his wife got a message from God, so he decided to hop back into the race? Or was it that the other person dropped, everything was fucked, he had to hop back in, and people were like, wow, you're getting back in the race? He's like, listen, my wife, I saw this thing. It was a sign from God. Like I need, like he's like you're saying it, but like that's not why he hopped back in. He's just saying like this is how I knew I was making the right decision. Do you know what I mean? You know the difference?
It's probably I do, but
Yeah.
it is probably the latter. But he did rejoin before the other guy dropped. Like he was on the debate stage with everybody.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's just something. I would assume it's like something that religious people say.
Maybe, sure.
They saw a sign and it plays well.
Of his takes, he has good, solid, one of the best takes on data centers that I have seen. Right?
Wait, real quick. No shot, bro.
Because like, here's the thing. This is not a friendly conversation.
No.
If you're DSA, none of these conversations that are taking place are friendly. You have to treat it like a hostile media interview.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna kill myself. I have to just stop
It's
streaming.
not
I need to
Hassan,
stop
it's his
streaming.
friend.
Yeah, I had to stop streaming until the midterms are over, bro. The thing is that like these guys listen better though than my own party does.
Everyone, all these slopulous now are like, we need a moratorium on data centers. This guy, Crowley, comes out and he's like, well, no moratorium. We could regulate them and maybe address some of the issues with the environmental effects that people have concerns with, but we should be building data centers. Like data centers have revitalized communities that they've built in. And being anti-data center is a lot like being anti-nuclear in today's vernacular. It's going to make us poorer, weaker, and less able to compete in the real world.
it's a stupid
Crowley is a
decision.
good candidate. Crowley is the union candidate. Crowley is someone we should be supporting.
So I
Long
think
as a
again,
crazy person.
I think
We're
two
talking
things can
about
be true.
politics. But we're talking about politics here. You can say F the voters, screw the voters. Okay, you can keep on saying screw the voters, we hate the voters. But politically, we need political influence to stop the rise of slopulism and MAGA. So if you want to say the Democratic voters are dumb, then I don't know what I can tell you at that point.
The DSA.
This is such a weird. I don't. How old is this guy again?
I don't know.
He's really young, isn't he? Like 20 or 21 or something. If you're the older somebody is, the less likely I am to be charitable, and the more likely I am to accuse them of doing some weird. You're like trying to be fucking subversive or something. So I don't know. Maybe I just, sometimes this guy just feels very sneaky.
You can be mean because he calls you out at the end of the video.
Oh, wow, spoiler alert. He feels very sneaky with the way that he does his communication. I don't know.
And what were you saying?
No, I don't remember. I was just gonna say the DSA members are the slopulists.
Okay, then beat them. Why are Democratic candidates?
We are.
There's
not beating
well, they
Why
are.
is she winning?
So they
Why
are.
do you think?
Two things can be true. One, Democrats can be running bad candidates, and the DSA can be bad. That's what's happening.
Like, one annoying thing here is he's like, oh, well, then so just beat them. We've been saying the same thing about the DSA people forever, right? Because they constantly complain that all of our candidates are bad. But you could never say, well, just beat our candidates, because they would say, well, we can't because the establishment media is biased against us, because APAC and everybody is funding against us, because the billionaires are trying to oppress our candidates. And like they could have a trillion different excuses for why their candidates could never win. But then now that they figured out how to leverage some of these environments, if we try to make similar attacks against them, they tell us it's unfair and we can't criticize those environments. So we just have to do better. And it's like, well, okay. It can't be two different sets of rules.
Here in Wisconsin,
Yeah,
Democrats
okay.
seem to not be running good candidates. It seems like Hong is probably going to win, and sadly, the Democrats are probably going to lose Wisconsin over it.
Yeah, and I think that's a tragedy that the moderate wing of the party could not find anybody to run. That's a good candidate.
This wild, and you've done this a lot. Every time something happens that is bad, it's always the establishment's
Oh, wait. Oh, damn. Okay. Because mind melded with me a bit here, yeah.
fault, right?
I said
Plattner
nothing about the
winning
establishment. I
was
said
the
they are losing.
establishment's fault,
I said they are
right?
losing
Hong
to
doing
DSA.
well,
That is correct,
it's
right?
establishment's fault. Sometimes it's okay to acknowledge that there are
Voters
bad
are
actors
stupid.
on the other side who are capable of being of having agency, and their agency is lying to the public and pushing bad candidates that convince the voting class, right? Convince
Hong's
the
not a
voting
good liar, man. She's not a good liar. She's really bad at it, to be honest. She can't answer a question about Thanksgiving. She's like, I love Thanksgiving because I'm a cook, and I'm going to use that to bring people around the table. She's a terrible candidate. My question again is, why are there no moderate And by the way, the polls can be off by 25 points, and I will be happy, to be honest. I don't want Hong to run. I think she's a disaster. But my question again is, why can we not have any accountability for Democrats who are losing to these types of candidates? Like, we have to have some.
What do you mean, no accountability?
It's also like very annoying that these candidates are being used as a cudgel against the entirety of the like Democratic Party, but the DSA types are only running in very specific venues. So the national level Democratic Party can win so many different elections. We've won so many special elections. I think it was wasn't it supposed to be like the most flipped seats in Congress in all of U.S. history in an off-season, not like in an off-season election, but like in a special election term, I think. But the national level, like the Democratic Party gets zero credit for that. I guess it's just like expected. But then if the DSA candidates manage to scrape out a few wins, now it's like, that's like emblematic of a complete and utter failure of the entire Democratic Party establishment. And it's like, well, is that really fair? I don't know. I feel like that's kind of...
I think we are having accountability. They're going to lose. That's the accountability.
Yeah, but from liberal commentators like myself, for example, I cannot stand what's her name, Cori Bush. She lost by like 50 points to her opponent, Wesley Bell, and then called him a Republican. I'm extremely critical of her. She lost by 50 points, and she called him a Republican, which is not true.
That's bad.
Now, Yeah, that's really bad. But why is there no heat? I don't see any coverage from center commentators about the primaries on who is going to be the up-and-coming candidate, or why are we putting forward these terrible candidates like a Janet Mills? Why was Mandela Barnes not supported from the
I
start?
feel like
Why
you're
was
missing it then,
Badlander not
because
supported?
we've
Why was
talked
Mallory
about
McMorrow not supported? We had Mallory McMorrow right there. She was above. She was by far the favorite for Michigan, Mallory McMorrow. And guess what happened? All the progressive money went to El Sayed, and then all the establishment money went to Haley Stevens. That's why McMorrow ended up tanking. She was.
Is that I just try not to be biased in things that I like, I guess. Was McMorrow, was she more favored than Haley Stevens? I don't know if that's true. I liked McMorrow way more. Hutch literally interviewed her. I think all of us over here liked McMorrow more than Haley Stevens.
Her and Haley were neck and neck in the polls for quite a while, and then she started to lose pretty hardcore.
By far the favorite. If the establishment would have went for the compromise, went for McMorrow, she probably would have won.
The reason McMorrow ended up tanking is she tried to thread the needle, and she ended up being lukewarm. She was neither hot nor cold, so the voters spit her out of their mouth, right? She decided to play a balance where she appeased the establishment, but also went to the progressive side and played with those voters. And
In April, she raised the same amount of money as Stevens and pulled about equal. Was Stevens' campaign, like, had it really taken off yet, or were they just kind of like waiting more to join the fray? I truly don't know. I'm not sure. Just kidding.
no one bought it. If you were an established someone who liked the establishment, who liked the old school Democrats, you went with Stevens. And if you were someone who was more progressive leaning, you went towards the more progressive candidate which was El Sayed. So that's why she lost, right? Like this idea that Stevens was a bad candidate, all the fundamentals were against her, and she lost by less than a percentage point, right? Like you had the entire left wing come out canvassing for her, come out promoting her, come out really pushing her.
Lie about her.
All the fundamentals were against her. She had every single. She had Whitmer. She had Carville coming in. She had
pushing El Sayed in his primary and things like that. You have a populist wave where the establishment is seen as really bad in the Michigan area, and he still wasn't able to put up more than a percentage.
I think one question we should ask our lib bros is, what is the true difference in between the DSA and the Green Party? Why can they understand the difference in danger with the Green Party and not the DSA? Do we understand a danger in the Green Party? One thing that I always used to criticize the Green Party about, and the Libertarian Party, and I think I've made this criticism for 10 years, is, I don't remember who I stole this from, but I remember hearing it from somebody a long time ago. It was a good criticism, is that the issue with these deeply unserious parties is that they never actually try to build a shelf of political power at any local level. They just show up once every 4 years to try to win a presidential election, and they crawl back into their holes, and they waste everybody's time, including their own party members' time. That's all they fucking do, okay? This was true of the socialist parties, the DSA in the past. It is true of the Libertarian Party. It is true of the Green Party. They never, ever try to have any actual political power anywhere. The DSA, though, is now doing the local power thing. And it's much, much, much easier. Obviously, they got a huge win with Mamdani, but it's much easier to take a national level political interest and try to fixate it on some local elections to start to build your chest of political power there and then expand that than it is to show up once every 4 years to try to win the fucking presidency, right? Like Jill Stein and I don't even remember his name. I call him Aleppo Johnson. Gary Johnson or whatever, the libertarian guy. Like it's a fool's errand to do that.
Not even a percentage point of a victory. Like Stevens was a great candidate. Stevens was strong.
If you want to hear me critique Democrats, I can do that. I think it's really stupid that Dems are running like 10 candidates or 2 candidates even against DSA members. It obviously splits our votes. McMorrow should have dropped earlier, and it seems like Michigan needs to actually go and fix how they do when you can drop out, because what I think the time that she should have dropped out by in order not to be on the ballot was like sometime in I think it was April. So yeah, if we're going to have candidates, we need to come together as like a party and do it earlier rather than later.
Why are we against, I think the DNC just solidified this, right? Why are we against ranked choice voting? Ranked choice voting, because I feel like ranked choice would also help our primaries.
It would get us to the middle.
Yeah.
I think ranked choice is really good. We talk about that a little bit later, where we talk about ranked choice or jungle primaries. I think jungle could be interesting, but I am a little afraid of that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure as much about that. For the audience, a jungle primary means that there's like a collective primary for all the parties like at once. So you don't have like a Democrat primary and a Republican primary. You just have a big primary, and then the top 2 or whatever candidates go on to the general election, right?
Yeah, that one seems really scary.
We have it in SF, and the problem is that people don't know how it works. Oh, shit. It's kind of, wait, who's mind melded with me?
It's like a roundabout.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, yeah, it's the same thing. People are like, well, roundabouts are good, right? Like, maybe, just depends. I remember in Omaha when they started to put them in certain neighborhoods, you would come up to a roundabout and people would turn left, like in the roundabout. And it was like, I don't know.
In theory, they're good, but if
I don't know if this works
them...
here. I don't know if my countrymen are ready for this advanced technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Haley Stevens in Michigan, I don't even have it pulled up right now, but she had every single big endorsement in Michigan. She had the outgoing, the senator that is leaving endorse her. She had Governor Whitmer endorse, Peters. She had Whitmer endorse her. She had James Carville come in, who's very influential with black voters as well, and she did win a majority of black voters. And every Michigan, it was actually a meme during the primary from like centrists that El Sayed has all the endorsement from other states. I think Stevens even said that he has the coastal elites coming in to endorse him. So when Wick says that she had all the fundamentals against her, I just don't agree. She had that. She had all the local endorsements that should be more influential in Michigan, not someone coming in from the outside.
I don't like jungle primaries. I think ranked choice voting is fine because you do run into this weird issue where an extremist can come in and dominate your. Or I say an extremist, I guess theoretically you could have two extremists running that also split the vote. It's just this vote splitting idea is a very cancerous concept of first past the post. It's hard to get over sometimes. Like you have two candidates that both want to give you, like one wants to give you cookies, one wants to give you brownies, and then one candidate who wants to do steamed broccoli forever. And that guy's got 40 points, and then the other two people have 30 points each. And it's like, obviously you guys want the candy, but the broccoli dude's going to make it because the two candy people don't drop out. It's like not, I don't know. It's just not a good, doesn't feel good.
I think the final numbers from New York Times were either 10 to 1 or 9 to 1 outside spending. The extra $60 million definitely can't hurt. If she did not get that money, if she did not get the extra $60 million, Bill probably does win by 5 or 10
I think what Wick means right now is like the establishment isn't a popular thing. Nobody likes what's going on. So when
even without ranked choice, we should at least do runoffs. Man, I thought about that, but like, is that not like runoffs for primary? That feels kind of dramatic.
It's like we're primary or primary.
Yeah, that feels like really dramatic at that point. I don't know.
Final numbers from New York Times were either 10 to 1 or 9 to 1 outside spending. The extra $60 million definitely can't hurt. If she did not get that money, if she did not get the extra $60 million, Bill probably does win by 5 or 10
I think what Wick means right now is like the establishment isn't a popular thing.
I don't understand the cookies versus broccoli analogy. Let's say you have a population, 60% want candy, 40% want steamed broccoli. Let's say that the 60% candy people actually have two candidates running, offering two different types of candies. When people go up at the primaries to vote, 30% of candy 1 wins, 30% for candy 2 wins, but then the broccoli guy gets 40%. So the 60% candy enjoyers split their vote down the middle, 30-30, even though either one would have preferred the other candidate, but now the 40% broccoli guy takes it for the plurality of the vote. Plurality meaning the highest percentage won, but not over 50%.
Nobody likes what's going on. So when you're an outside candidate and you're coming in, you're fighting against the establishment.
Doesn't New York City do ranked choice voting? I think for their, I don't know if they do for any of their like federal level seats. They did for the mayoral stuff though, yeah.
The extra $60 million definitely can't hurt. If she did not get that money, if she did not get the extra $60 million, Bill probably does win by 5 or 10
I think what Wick means right now is like the establishment isn't a popular thing. Nobody likes what's going on. So when you're an outside candidate and you're coming in, you're fighting against the establishment, you kind of have like the wind at your sails right now.
You have all the like new media loves you if you are this, right? All the podcast bros, all the Twitter folks, and people act like influencers for whatever reason. And we're gonna talk about the Mitch voter guy too tonight. For whatever reason, people online have decided that online influencers have no influence, that the media has no influence, and they've decided to pretend this when that's just not true, right? You had new media, you had this Mitch voter guy make up a lie, right? Make up a lie about Stevens' camp internal pollster calling someone up and calling Stevens up and saying, "Hey, you have no path to victory." And he pushed this lie, and a lot of people, big names, Hassan, Keith Edwards, Wahajat Ali, and a bunch of others, picked this narrative and ran with it. And did it affect turnout? I have no idea, but they were trying to do that. They were attempting to do that. You have new media just willing to lie about you, and I guarantee that these kinds of people think that money in politics has a huge effect. I don't know if it does. We looked at the 2020 primary campaigns, right? $1 billion were spent to get Bloomberg to be our nominee. With a B, right? $1 billion. $1 billion.
A B.
He didn't even get anywhere close. People overstate money in politics. They just do. The biggest threat to our political system isn't money. It's the staffers. And we see this by how they're acting. This is the threat that the DSA and other actors on the far left really pose, is they have positions of influence and power within the media and within organization groups and within the party. And they are pushing these candidates on us that are making it harder for us to beat MAGA. Look at when Al Sayed won the primary. We took a lean Democratic state and it became a toss-up. It's now objectively harder to win.
Also, if money just won the election, then Tom Steyer would be at least one of the two governor nominees.
Are you saying money has zero impact?
No one's saying money has zero impact. We're not. Of course.
Okay, then if money has
Damn! True, though.
Any impact, then if both candidates had the same amount of money spent, then El Sayed probably wins by more than he did, right? If it has some impact.
I don't know.
Okay, so money has no impact, is what you're saying.
Yeah, money has no impact.
Why is that the only option? I feel like there's probably a saturation point when it comes to media stuff where it's past this, I don't know how much more helps. I don't know if El Sayed if more ads would have like raised the awareness for him or his positions more. I feel like this was like a national level popularity or national level popular primary. I don't know if any more attention would have changed anything for that election, or even more money spent for Stevens. You might have been able to remove $20 million spent for Stevens, and it might not have impacted much on her. Like, I don't know.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, if it has any impact, then necessarily.
But it has can we at least acknowledge it has diminishing returns?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 18 ads of the same person back to back to back to back, especially like I criticized Kamala Harris, she was airing these dumb commercials in the middle of college football games. That's not going to help very much. But it does help with overall media saturation.
What do you mean it's
for
not
sure.
going to help airing a commercial during a college football game?
Having Kamala Harris come out in the middle of an NCAA game when everybody's in the bar drinking or whatever, no one's watching that commercial. I've been
You're
at these places.
completely wrong.
You think people are staring at the TV and watching Kamala Harris ads on, all the
Yeah,
girls at the bar?
I think older people, the people who actually go and vote, are watching the ads. Yeah.
Well, I think it works on normal people too. Mountain Dew and Pepsi spend billions of dollars for a reason, and we all like to think that we're immune to the wiles of a Mountain Dew commercial, but there's a reason they spend billions of dollars. I would also like to say that I think Wick was really spot on here in that the new media landscape, in my opinion, is the biggest piece that people are missing in all of this, which is the ability of and it kind of ties to money in a certain case where each person, all of the people fighting for attention and relevance and therefore some amount of power and money they're not necessarily doing it for forthright reasons. They're not doing it necessarily because they purely believe in some political ideology. Instead, it's something more of an attention economy where the most bombastic, or in the case of like the DSA and the political landscape, people promise the moon and they don't have to deliver anything. And so they get to use this sort of rocket fuel in the social media landscape to get attention. And we've seen it in MAGA once they actually get the reins of power, they can't deliver on anything. And to me, that is where I focus my thoughts on all of this conversation, is the new media landscape and the way that it is taking control of society and all these big decisions we're making.
If I may.
I will say, just really quick on the new media point, because I know you're going to talk about that, but Haley Stevens did have probably the biggest new media clip of the primary with her TMZ interview when she went off script and they did not want her to do it, but she was her genuine self. If she would have done that more often, instead of talking about Jolah podcast over and over and over again, and I'm endorsed by Barack Obama like over and over again in the debate versus Abdul, she probably would have won. She would have won this primary. And you have to ask why the consultants
Okay.
are telling her to talk like
She
that.
didn't.
I think it's really hard. It's so hard to decide like what would have been better or not. But I think one thing that you have to be very wary of is, especially for somebody who I've never seen it, but I bet this guy wanted El Sayed to win. I bet he said it. I bet he endorsed her or whatever. But like, these guys were all saying that Stevens was going to lose by 14 points, right? There were like 4 different polls. There was that bullshit leaked one. All these guys thought it was going to be like a landslide victory for El Sayed. And it ends up being a less than 1 point race, I believe, when all the numbers came in at the end. I think it was less than 1 point, which is crazy. So for them to say, well, this thing she did was actually wrong, and if she would have did this instead, she shouldn't have brought up that podcaster point. Like, maybe she would have won. Well, maybe that was a point that you didn't like, but maybe that was one that was actually, more influential in one direction than another. Maybe older people really don't like the idea of podcaster politicians. I don't know that. I'm not actually sure 100%. I don't know if there's focus group polling that shows one way or another, but I would be a little bit hesitant to offer my opinion on like, this is absolutely what she should have done, or they absolutely should have thought of this, when it's like, well, whatever we thought they should have done before, this election ended up way different than everybody said it was going to. It's El Sayed, not El Sayed. Fuck yo mama, bitch.
I've done that more often instead of talking about Jolah podcast over and over and over again. And I'm endorsed by Barack Obama like over and over again in the debate versus Abdul. She probably would have won. She would have won this primary. And you have to ask why the consultants are telling her to talk like that.
She didn't.
You talk about her endorsements constantly. If you look at the exit polls. And
Sorry, you
look
said that
around,
she said she was endorsed by Barack Obama. She said that. She never said
she
that.
gave the impression that she was in the flyer she put out. And you could see her talking to black voters. There's a clip of her walking around to everybody saying, I was proud to work with Barack Obama. She's obviously laundering his name and using it for that purpose.
You realize
Laundering his name? I mean, if she had any association with him, why would you not talk about it? That's completely and totally fair. Also, I don't like sometimes when somebody lies and then when they get called out on the lie, they walk it back to a different statement. And it's like, well, hold the fuck on, because before you said she lost because of this thing, okay? Nobody is attacking necessarily the thing when they say that your thing is wrong. They're attacking the fact that your earlier conclusion was based on a thing that you just said was wrong. I don't know if people understand that sometimes, is that if somebody says, why did you drive home yesterday when you were drunk? And you say, I was secretly fed alcohol in my Pepsi cup and I didn't know it, and that's why I drove home drunk. I didn't know I was drunk. And if somebody says, okay, well, yesterday it wasn't Pepsi that you were served. You knew it was like fucking vodka or whatever. You knew that it was just like, okay, whatever. I don't know. I don't know the specific thing of whatever. I don't know. We don't have to argue on this point, right? It's like, well, no, hold on. It's not that you lied about that point. It is, but it's the fact that that was the foundation that you used for your last argument, which means that the last argument should have never been an argument that you were making. So why did you have that argument if the underlying point that you made was not even true? And then you very quickly and readily acknowledged it wasn't true, Yeah, this is happening a bit in this. I don't know if it'll happen more. It's not necessarily the most important thing here, but
like
She
that.
didn't.
You talk about her endorsements constantly. If you look at the exit polls, and
Sorry, you
you
said
look
that
around,
she said she was endorsed by Barack Obama.
I
She
don't
said
think
that. She never said
she
that.
gave the impression that she was in the flyer.
That's a way different. Gave the impression of an endorsement. I don't even know what that means, but okay. This is also where it would be nice to bring out the exact ads or the exact.
Put out, and you could see her talking to black voters. There's a clip of her walking around to everybody saying, "I was proud to work with Barack Obama." She's obviously laundering his name and using it for that purpose.
You realize that she
did not
was
say, "I have
endorsed by
an
Barack
official
Obama
endorsement."
in the past, right?
Okay, was she for this election? That's a terrible argument.
Sorry,
No, but
did she
it's
say
good.
that she
I
was
was endorsed by Barack Obama when I
Did
ran
she
for
say
Congress in a
that?
different
Did
race.
she ever say that? Did she ever say
Why did
that?
you bring that up? Why did you bring that point up? What does it matter?
because
if
she's
she
saying
was
that-
endorsed for?
Why would you not bring up that in the past you've worked with Obama or that Obama has endorsed you in the past? If he's still probably one of the most popular politicians in the United States, why would you not bring that up? What?
One of the go ahead, Moon.
Because you're literally saying like, oh, why she bring up Obama? Well, she was endorsed by Barack Obama in the past. She has worked with him.
Why would
So
you-
why
yeah.
are you lying and saying that she said on the debate stage that she was endorsed by Barack Obama? Can you answer that?
Damn. Hold on. Why are you so angry?
Yeah, I'm just an angry guy.
Okay. Based.
I don't like
based.
when people lie and then move on from it.
Sure. Based.
I think it's fair play. I think it's fair play to use Barack Obama's
Sorry,
name. I
can you
support any
answer that?
candidate to do
Why you lied and said that she said that she was endorsed by Barack Obama on the debate stage? Were you wrong?
Okay, I didn't say on the debate stage. She gave the impression when she
Sorry,
was talking
were
to
you
voters and also
wrong?
in flyers she
Yes
put
or
around.
no?
I was super wrong.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Pulling some Pisco
Okay,
stuff.
so in the debate with Haley versus Abdul, he gave answers to questions on things like green energy, and also about the air pollution, about the sensors. They're going to detect air quality, how we can make sure that we monitor that from different corporations. And she went on a story about like, I'm endorsed by the Attorney General, I'm endorsed by Whitmer because I'm going to bring home a future for people like you. It's just a different kind of politics. She sounded great off script, and she kept bringing up Abdul's podcast over and over and over again. Why would she bring that up so many times?
Oh my God, he is obsessed with this. I do think that she had a really bad debate performance. I didn't really like her debate performance. Now, historically, at least for presidential elections, debate performances don't really seem to move the needle that much. I don't know why. They just don't. Maybe they can create like special moments where there could be like a huge clippable moment that goes viral and maybe people can build off that. But generally speaking, it's like, it's really crazy that when we were looking at like the primary season, especially in 2020, if this is like all the candidates and this is like your opinion and like this is where like the kind of like polls are, if you have like a major debate moment, this is what would happen. It would be like the first debate before Iowa. Whoa, holy shit, they had a big moment. And then it's gone like this. It feels like this thing would happen over and over and over again. I don't know.
She had terrible advisors. And the one time she did a genuine appearance in front of media, she went off script with TMZ, and she got by far the biggest media clip of the entire primary.
So what's your point here? Just that you
A
like
new
her better
media
when
is
she's like
accessible
off
to
script?
moderate candidates. John Ossoff goes huge on independent media. Talerico does huge on independent media. These are not exactly far-left DSA candidates. Definitely not John Ossoff. Definitely not Talerico.
What does that have to do with anything? I don't know why you would compare. I'm pretty sure Jay-Z and Kanye West have good media. I need to learn new rapper names. Like, I don't know any of it. But I mean, like, what is this? Why are these being brought up in comparison to this?
Rico, but they can still use new media. It's a candidate quality issue.
Well, that's not. Hold on. That's not a candidate quality issue. That's a messaging issue. Here, I will criticize.
Yeah, and that's
Does John Ossoff utilize a lot of new media? Is that true? I know that he's given great speeches, and I really like what he has to say, but he's not like, he hasn't been like competing for his seat. Like, I don't know. How does he...
He's not on like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
or,
Has
like,
John Ossoff done a
yeah.
single like podcast thing ever? Is even OnlyFans I'm not aware of? I don't know. That's a weird comparison to me. I don't understand.
That's candidate quality. Yeah, if they can't message in the modern era, yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
if
Well,
they're
obviously
clearly
not
messaging, just
messaging.
kidding.
She
Let
can't
me
do
get
it.
my point out.
Yeah.
Let me get my point out. I think that the Democratic Party, the DNC, the establishment, whatever you want to call them, has failed when it comes to meeting the moment with new media and the landscape that we find ourselves in. Their messaging has been terrible and it needs to improve. But that's not a candidate quality issue. When I think about candidate quality, I think,
Flatner.
how are they going to govern? Are they going to be able to get bills passed? Are they going to be able to stand up for their constituents and meet the moment and oppose MAGA effectively?
That's a different candidate quality there. That's different. When you talk about whether or not somebody can win an election is technically different than like their policies and can they govern. Unfortunately, it's quite different. But
And I think that messaging matters, no doubt, but I think that that is what gets you in the door. One of my problems with the DSA and with the left and with the rise of the populist is it's all empty vagaries. We saw the DSA candidate went on, I'm not sure which
Fox News?
which interview it was. I don't think it was Fox News this time. It might have been, where they were basically asked about their tax policy. And they had slogans. We're going to tax the hell out of the rich. We're going to tax the hell out of them if you make a certain amount. And they were asked a very simple question. Okay, how does that work? They weren't able to answer.
Was this the vice lead of the DSA? Is that what you're
Yeah,
talking
was
about?
this Megan?
Yeah.
Megan Comer?
And
Megan
that,
Romer.
that continues to happen. When pushed on, how are you going to get this done? They don't have any answers. And it's
Yeah,
because
I
it's
don't
all
like the
empty.
DSA.
It's
Yeah,
all
I'm
vacuous.
against the DSA. Yeah, I don't like the DSA. Yeah, I'm against that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can agree that like the Democratic members need to do better with new media and need to come across more personable versus like robots like Hillary Clinton did. Like if you watch Hillary Clinton interviews now, I don't know if I was brain broken back then or what, but Hillary Clinton now seems super personable, super cool, super chill, like somebody you could go have a beer or talk with, versus before when she was running in 2016, it all felt weird, cringe, and just not good. So I will agree with you, Jolah. We have a problem in the Democratic Party and we're not like faultless.
it feels so, it's like a whole different category. But like, this is true. I don't know why, but Democrats on message are just like very robot. It's weird. I don't understand. I don't know what's going on there. I guess actually it's kind of like Francesca Hong when she's doing.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
That's her most establishment quality is Francesca Hong. I was shocked when I listened to her speak with Hassan when she was on his stream. She sounded a trillion times more personable, but the difference between her was actually so extreme, not to sound sexist or ableist or whatever, but I do wonder if there's like a medication issue there, that she has whatever bipolar or whatever's going on, if she's on some kind of medication sometimes that dramatically changes her affect. But I don't know 100%.
Yeah, I definitely agree about Hillary Clinton. I don't know if that's... I was definitely brain broken at the time, but I also think that if she would have done more long-form media, if she hadn't been so allergic to going on more podcasts, things of that nature, she might have endeared herself better to the public. Although, I mean, being the way things were at the time and how much the well was poisoned regards to people's perception of Hillary Clinton, I don't know about that.
Another thing you have to consider, too, though, is that like Hillary's not running for any office right now, so she can be more free and say things, and people aren't going to attack her viciously on every single thing regardless, so I don't know.
So the danger here then is the DSA's ability to capitalize on the wide open media landscape that has been a bit underutilized. But that's one of them.
Yeah, the Republicans seem to have...
The messaging they're using to gain power and influence is anti-Democratic Party, right? That's how they win. Is they point to the Democratic Party and they say, these guys are failures. These guys suck. These guys can't win. These guys haven't done shit for you, right? And they use populist rhetoric to paint the Democratic Party as feckless, impotent, and bad. And
Moon is 100% correct. Clinton sounds great now. What happened in 2016? I think there's too much prepping for narratives, etc. Well, one of the issues is that Hillary got mind fucked in the same way that all of the Republican candidates got mind fucked. In that, like, it's a comedy sketch or it's a stand-up comedy routine. But I really do think that in some ways, Shane Gillis's stand-up in Austin was a little bit instructive on this, that like Trump came up and he just did a whole bunch of things that you're never really supposed to be able to do, and nobody was really ready to adapt to that, because there were people like me who watched and thought like, well, this certainly can't work. Everybody in the media was like, well, this obviously is not going to work, and it continued to work, and everybody was kind of waiting for the moment for the American public to be like, okay, well, obviously we don't accept this, and that moment never came. And Hillary was still very much running in that, I wouldn't call it like civility politics world, but like the understanding that we had like some kind of social norms or standards that had to be, that there had to be some kind of standards, but there weren't. Trump very quickly explored that and then exploded that.
Like we have studies actually that show one of the reasons it's been hard to hold Trump accountable for his corruption is because so many voters see the right and the left as the same when it comes to corruption. That's bullshit. But one of the reasons they feel that way, and one of the reasons the voters think that way, is because you've had nonstop for the last 10 years, a constant stream from segments of the left saying just that, right? This is the danger, one of the major dangers that the DSA, the far left, etc. pose, is the messaging that they use to win makes it harder for us to differentiate ourselves from MAGA.
Dems need to run on easy things that like the American people are actually going to like. One of them is just going to be, I'm in super big support of free or reduced childcare. Every family can take home extra money each month. It'll go in their pocket. Another thing would be stock trading. I don't think any Democratic candidates or anybody in office, public office, should be allowed to just publicly trade stocks, especially in Congress or the presidency. So we need to have better messaging as Democrats.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that the right adapted to the new media landscape a lot quicker. I think they were pressed to do so because they were in the sort of minority culture of political discourse. You know, we had the Obama years, the Bush years. They didn't really stand for much. They hadn't had a real champion since Reagan, and so they sort of gravitated towards these new media spaces to sort of recreate their culture. And we've seen the further left doing the same thing. And my big worry here is, you know, maybe there is no solution because of the modern media landscape, and because it prefers the rocket fuel conversations, the big promises, and the easy money, the easy solutions.
I still think, and there's no way for me to test this, obviously, but I still think that people think that it's like extreme talking points or like extreme policies or whatever, that these are like the important things when it comes to messaging well. I do feel like it's just like you just need to be extreme with your rhetoric, but you can message moderate talking points. You just have to do it like in a very extreme way, like be, I don't know, boisterous or over the top or combative or whatever, but you can still have moderate talking points. But it just so happens to be, I think, that generally the people who are messaging on the extremist points also tend to be the people who are using the extremist policies as well.
At the snap of the finger, like Wick says, if we just get rid of the liberal systems in our way, then we can just usher in our great new society. And
Have you done much diving in on the Congress trading stocks thing? Feels weird to me that banning someone from buying. I think selling is a major issue, but I think just the buying is getting everyone upset. Well, it's both, right? It's the idea of being able to time your buys with upcoming legislation. I feel like you should just have to announce your trades like 30 days in advance or maybe something like that, or at least clear it with some office.
That's already a thing. Oh, you mean 30 days in advance? Sorry.
Yeah, or clear it with some kind of ethics office or something. The big issue, but nobody wants to talk about this, and obviously it's whatever, is that like I've never seen anything compelling that shows that there's like any illicit trading going on that shouldn't be, or that somebody's like doing stuff that they shouldn't be. I don't think there's any compelling reason to believe that.
Do you think the president should be able to buy stocks?
Should be able to. Well, it should probably be whatever rules are on Congress, I would say, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that there's like a big issue with like putting your money in like an ETF or fucking VOO or whatever.
Sure. Which is an ETF, yeah. I think besides what Trump does, Trump is a whole other outlier of corrupt, crazy shit. One thing, though, that you should consider, and I don't always consider this because it's boring to me, but like one thing you should consider is, I'm always harping on policy. Like we have to look at the good policies or whatever. You do have to look at stuff that makes the public feel good as well. Like a legitimate branch of government or like a legitimate institution doesn't matter if people feel like it's not legitimate. Like the feeling of legitimacy is as important or sometimes more important than the legitimacy of the thing itself. So that is something to keep in mind as well.
At the snap of the finger, like Wick says, if we just get rid of the liberal systems in our way, then we can just usher in our great new society. And I'm worried that there is a long-term, maybe unsolvable problem of real solutions, moderate solutions, safe solutions that don't solve everything instantly easily, don't have a selling point in the modern media landscape. And I'm not sure what's going to bring us back from that.
I think when you're running, you just say all the sloppy shit, and then when you actually get to Congress, you have to really govern.
I've heard that strategy going around, and I'm cynical enough. I'm cynical enough that I'll vote for someone even if I know they're doing that. Like if Gavin Newsom starts promising some sloppyism and he's our presidential candidate, I'm pulling that lever every time. But
I don't like it either way. But I think that you probably have to like pick your sloppyism and go in like that method. Obviously, you shouldn't just do everything. Like anybody who wants to ban data centers is stupid.
Yeah, you're like Boromir, though, right? You're looking at the One Ring, you're holding it in your hand, and you're like, I can use it to help. I can use it to win. No, cast that shit in the fire, bro. Like, one of the problems with populist rhetoric is that it destroys trust in institutions. Populism has to have an us versus them dynamic. Otherwise, it's not popular.
Sure, but if our allies all have the One Ring, we have to, or sorry, our enemies all have the One Ring, like we're going to have to use it too, Wick.
I don't agree. And I think that this idea that we have to destroy the trust in our institutions so that we can somehow build back trust in our institutions isn't going to work. One of the reasons our democracy in America works has been our institutions, right? They have helped us grow and helped the American-style democracy project really take off and be the best in the world. And one of the biggest reasons MAGA is winning is because the trust in science is all-time low, trust in media is an all-time low, trust in academia is at an all-time low, trust in Congress is at an all-time low, trust in the executive is at an all-time low, right? Like, if we want to get out of the MAGA era, we have to actually defend our institutions and say, no, sorry, sir, that rando college graduate with a bachelor's in communications does not actually know how to solve these problems. But that 60-year-old who's worked in this industry for his entire life might have a solution or two.
Sure,
right?
Then our Democratic candidates need to actually go on stage and say that. Because I feel like nobody's saying
that's why I said we have a messaging problem.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right. But it's hard to win primaries saying that because of the populist wave.
Sure, but I feel like that's a bit of a defeater. Like if Haley Stevens was up there, and I think she was kind of trying to say this by calling him a podcaster, but I think you need to be a lot more blatant and in the voters' face about it and just be like, this guy has never done anything in like the Congress or the Senate or public office. Like really, I know he kind of had whatever it was. But she needs to go out there and just be harder about it. So I don't know. Yeah.
But when she does promote her work in the actual political industry, people like Jolah will say, "Oh, she's just saying that she's endorsed by Obama." No, she was using that to show, "Hey, the president of the United States really liked my work with his auto industry package for this state that I helped to govern, I helped to get through, I helped to implement." Like these are all positives, and I feel like we're living in a world where being a politician is seen as a negative when it should not be.
True.
Right? I think that is, again, the result of people leaning on populist rhetoric is people who are experts are not seen as unable to do the job. And so we need fresh, young, outside voices that'll get shit done. And everything seems to be getting worse.
I think an issue like ICE definitely deserves populist rhetoric and populist anger, and I think it's at the point of losing control completely, where we do need some pushing from the far left, and that's why I think DSA candidates are probably healthy for Democrats in that regard. We do need very, very radical action with ICE. Like Tom Homan, I'm going to
harp on this point a lot. I brought it up a lot. I do agree with this point that the far left can be helpful to the Democratic Party, but the way that help manifests is by having the fight. Like that's the only way. You have to be allowed to fight against them. And if you're constantly told that you're not allowed to do it and that you're punching left and whatever their bullshit, if that's the case, then they don't help. They're just subversive, which is what they're trying to be.
his highest awards and accolades under Barack Obama. He's been around for a while. Obama did a great job decreasing the private prison system and overall private prison spending, but that spending went directly to detention centers. And right now we currently have government officials like Miller and Hellman who are invested in GEO Group and a bunch of other operators of these private prisons. And we have mentally ill, manic, idiot wife beaters murdering people cold-blooded, like in Maine, for example. Not having even a crime scene preserved with evidence. Not having any trial, no investigation, like nothing at all. The FBI is not even going to be investigating these cases anymore. Yeah, and I think that is like an issue where voters are. I think the right to people, manic, idiot wife beaters murdering people cold-blooded, like in Maine, for example. Not having even a crime scene preserved with evidence. Not having any trial, no investigation, like nothing at all. The FBI is not even going to be investigating these cases anymore. Yeah, and I think that is like an issue where voters are. I think they're right to want populist anger about that, and I don't know if we're going to get the reforms. And even if,
like you didn't need populist anger to expel them from Minnesota, right? These were like mass protests, but like under Democratic leadership. I'm not saying Democrats like necessarily organized it, like Schumer and Jeffries are organizing it, but like you didn't need like the populist rhetoric in order to do these protests and to expel ICE from your state.
My overall take would be repeal and replace ICE. You don't even need to be like abolish, but that's like Abdul's point is repeal and replace it with the it wasn't ICE, it was the immigrant.
He does say abolish ICE, but yeah, what he means is repeal and replace, which I think is what most people
INS,
want.
was it? Immigration and Naturalization Services?
Yeah,
the INS that was
that's
before
what most
ICE.
people
Yeah,
want, and I agree with you.
That's what Abdul said.
But there is a group of people who don't want that. First, one, I don't think that being angry at ICE right now is necessarily populist rhetoric.
Are protests populist? I feel like they are kind of populist. Absolutely not. No, populism should more strictly refers to a shadowy cabal elite that you have to come together as citizens, and it's the citizens versus like the elite people. Not just populist does not just mean like popular stuff, like lots of people want it. That's not like popular. Medicare for all. If you talk about Medicare for all and you say that we don't have Medicare for all right now because there is a lot of business interest and opposition to it, because the people in Congress are dragging their feet on it, because the voters on the right especially have been fearmongered about it. This type of conversation about Medicare for all, I would say, is not necessarily populist. If you say that we have the votes, we have the people, we could have Medicare for all right now, but Big Pharma is standing between us, standing between you and me. It's just Big Pharma is keeping it from happening. Big Pharma is the reason, and that's it. That's populist. It's like there's the big bad guy behind the scenes. It's zero engagement with the political system, zero engagement with any political process. It's just the epic big bad guy that the people have to come together and fight against.
You can use populist rhetoric in order to target ICE, but you can also use institutionalist rhetoric to say this institution
is broken, has
fundamentally been subverted to what it was supposed to be by Trump basically opening the doors to all these crazy folks to come in and be ICE agents. And what the policies from the top, because of Trump's appointments, have subverted the agency, and so it has to go. And so we can build a better agency, right? And we can build a better version of immigration enforcement in America. I don't think that that's necessarily populist rhetoric. It can be. But you're absolutely right that if it is an institutionalist take to say this institution isn't working and we need to reform it, or we need to replace it, or it's just not fulfilling the job that we thought it needed to do, so we just need to get rid of it, right? This is a fundamentally different thing than saying the corporate elites have destroyed us, and it has decided to subvert the will of the people.
Okay.
Right? These are different types of messaging, and I think that we need to be careful with how we message.
Maybe this would define my point better. So I think we need, this might be a good take to get things stirring a little bit. I think we need people like Kyle Kulinski to get ICE reformed. I think we need agitators who say a bunch of
like, this is just retarded. I don't know what the engagement is here with politics. Why do we need people like Kyle Kulinski for ICE reforms? This is like the mainstream position right now, I'm pretty sure, of the Democratic Party. Like, why? Where does this idea come from? We're never going to reform ICE without Kyle Kulinski. Kyle Kulinski doesn't like believe in the current fucking form of government. Like, what? I don't understand that at all.
We have huge platforms to say this is messed up in a really emotional way that gets people really fired up.
No, we don't. We super don't need, like, everybody already feels this right now. The whole, like, I feel like the prevailing American opinion has never been more against ICE than it is at this point in time. And we didn't need Kyle Kulinski to get us here. We just needed ICE start fucking murdering white people for no fucking reason.
That's not just like, I'm doing a policy
people are
analysis
already fired up.
Oh, sorry.
About like people getting shot on the street. I don't think Kyle Kulinski is adding to the fire.
Correct. Yes.
No, but he's helping. He's moving in the right direction.
Oh my God, they're helping. Oh my God.
I looked at his page earlier today. He's making like 15 anti-Trump videos for every one anti-Democrat video. I'll take that ratio any freaking day. And people like him are being rejected by liberals, mostly online. But everyone I know watches Kyle Kulinski. Everyone I know watches.
Because I don't think Kyle Kulinski is like a Democrat. I don't think he's a part of
that
the
kind
team.
of explains
He's honestly just a political pundit.
It's young people. It's young people who are like being motivated to join like the DSA and who like Zoran Mamdani and AOC and Bernie Sanders. And these young people are gonna grow up to be political actors, and we need an off ramp for them from the DSA, and we have to at least abide by some things they believe to be very true about politics.
Can I ask you a question, Jolah? Would you be okay with a pundit who was very anti-Trump? Okay, every day he came out with an anti-Trump video. It's just that every month, right? So after 30 days of anti-Trump videos.
Why are all the USA political terms so fucked? Because we have two parties, because Americans have no engagement with political systems around the world. So everything is just from a US perspective. And then because, and I'm sure this happens to some extent in Europe too, but because of those first two things, in American politics, people weaponize political labels like crazy. So whatever hope you had of Americans understanding anything about politics is completely and totally eliminated by that point. So, like, I've complained a lot about the communist thing. Like, the DSA people, the New York chapter, these are Marxists, 100%. The bad kind, the very bad kind. But Republicans have spent so much of their political careers calling every single fucking person on the left a radical Marxist, a radical communist, radical whatever, that, like, those words have no power anymore, and Americans don't even know what it means when you say it. Same thing with, you can argue the woke one people spent way too much time calling every single person a fucking fascist Nazi. Every single person was a Nazi or fascist if they did anything even, like, remotely racist or whatever. You see it now with, like, Israel and Palestine. Like, it has to be a genocide. It's not a bad word. It's a genocide. Everything is apartheid. Everything is genocide. Everything is ethnic cleansing. Like, every single thing is, like, the maximal fucking term, and it destroys your ability to see the difference. You have no granularity when discussing any of these concepts now. So Americans just have the dumbest understanding of anything related to political systems or political labels. To be fair, also, like, and I don't know how normal it was, but, like, I grew up probably thinking until I was like how old was I? I don't even know. Maybe I was like 19 or 20. Thinking that America had, like, the only real democracy on the planet. Like, this is a thing I thought for the majority of my adolescent life, at least, that America was the only democracy on the planet, and every other country used some other whatever. I probably grew up thinking most of Europe was socialist, unironically, but I grew up in a super Republican household.
Every month, he comes out with a video of why we can't trust black people. Black people will steal your daughters. They'll steal your bike. They'll come out and make your life worse. And black people are the worst. Would you let someone like that in your party? Or would you say that it's okay to watch this guy because he's primarily anti-Trump?
I would say, now here's the difficult thing. So I would compare that to spreading a video of, like, Sagar on Breaking Points, maybe, where I would maybe use them as a tool to maybe not de-radicalize, but to suppress the voter turnout of idiots who would follow someone like that. So even if it's not, and this can be a debate also about freaking, I don't know how I feel. I'm leaning towards negative about Hunter Biden on Tucker Carlson's. I have not seen the whole thing. I've seen clips, but so far Hunter Biden's like, oh, we had a great time,
Is this a
looking
yes
at the
or
road
no?
of Israel. Well, it requires a lot of nuance because the actors were
Can you say
involved
yes
in
or
here
no
are going to be
first, and then we
tools.
can get the nuance after?
Oh my God! Yeah, me and Wick are brain connected.
In a coalition, no, but are they useful? Yes.
Okay. This is part of the One Ring thing. I don't think we should be using people like that. I'm glad you wouldn't let them into the coalition. I appreciate that. But I think that you're playing with fire when you're using people like that, right? You're saying, well, we're creating this beast, we're feeding it, we're giving it attention, we're giving it impressions, we're giving it views, we're spreading its clips, all these things, and we can control this beast, right? I think that you're making a mistake when you do that. And
I
same
think
with
I'm
Kyle
returning.
Kalinske, right? I think that people who are promoting Kyle Kalinske, he is someone who I consider an anti-Semite. I think that he's very anti-democratic. I think that
You should just never bring up the anti-Semitic points. Like, if I want to get really in the weeds on things, I might argue with these, but I just don't think it's worth it. Nobody likes Jews anymore, and it's just I think it's a loser talking point. I know it doesn't. It's not fair. Sorry, Jews, but I don't know if I would ever wheel it out much as a stern criticism, unfortunately.
I worry about his aversive elements. Sharing him because he's anti-Trump most of the time is like saying, well, we can control this forest fire. It will never get out of bounds. We know it has, a potential to be disastrous, but, it really is helping us in some ways.
But
We don't
Kyle
need to do this.
Kalinske-
This is not necessary.
The entity of Kyle Kalinske will be existing no matter what we do, and Breaking Points will exist no matter what we do. They are going to exist. They're going to have huge platforms, bigger than all of ours, times probably like 1,000. They're going to be spread all over the internet. They are very, very freaking popular. They are growing like a wildfire, like the analogy you just kind of used. I would compare it to, I think you would agree. Do you believe that?
Well, yeah, but do you want them to be seen as aligned with you, or do you want them to be oppositional to you, or do you want them to be, like, in the same kind of, like, ballpark as you? Because you can lend them more political credibility on their side, or you could take from their political credibility on your side. Just because something is going to exist doesn't mean that your treatment of them is irrelevant. No.
And the right wing help fund the Green Party to beat Democrats.
I don't know if the word is to beat, but to subvert.
Well,
to
split the vote. I would compare
Yes,
it
yes,
to
yes.
that, where I want people who are going to say there's two types. So one would be like, oh, we're going to make a third party and destroy the Republican Party. So that might be like,
Hold on.
will exist no matter what we do. They are going to exist. They're going to have huge platforms, bigger than all of ours, times probably like 1,000. They're going to be spread all over the internet. They are very, very freaking popular. They are growing like a wildfire, like the analogy you just kind of used. I would compare it to, I think you would agree. Do you believe that Russians and the right wing help fund the Green Party to beat Democrats?
I don't know if the word is to beat, but to subvert.
Well, to split the vote. I would compare
Yes,
it
yes,
to
yes.
that, where
No, it's just fun. It's fundamentally, completely and totally either misstates or misunderstands the problem. Sometimes Republicans are, whether it's these Piper ads or whatever the fuck you call them, or the meddling shit, like sometimes Republicans will do stuff like this. Sometimes it's more overt, actually. If you can remember, Donald Trump always had really pretty good things to say about Bernie Sanders, where Trump would often say things like, oh yeah, like Bernie, they stole the election from Bernie. They stole the election from Bernie. The thing is that when Republicans are playing that game, there is no confusion amongst Republicans where they or their party stands. That's the difference. Nobody is saying on the Republican side, when they like try to support extremist Democrats in primaries, nobody on the Republican side is going, well, maybe Bernie Sanders is like us. Maybe he is a Republican. They never have that confusion. It's a totally different type of thing going on there.
I want people who are going to say there's two types. So one would be like, oh, we're going to make a third party and destroy the Republican Party. So that might be like a Jill Stein, but for them. Libertarians do that sometimes. Or it'll be like we are going to, I hate both parties, but I guess you should be voting Democrat, or I guess you should be voting Republican. Like the old Joe Rogan endorsement before he became a full-on cuck.
Yeah, but you understand in Russia's goal isn't just to beat the Democratic Party, right? Russia's goal is to destroy America, right? Mm-hmm. They are wanting to cause chaos. They do not care about the second order consequences of who they promote. In fact, it's probably a bonus to them. Like, no, we get to hurt the Democratic Party and push these crazy conspiracies? Hell yeah, right? Like this idea that that we should do the same thing is to fundamentally misunderstand that we as people who want to have America grow strong are in a fundamentally different place than our adversaries across the ocean that want to just destroy us all. They want to destroy MAGA too, right? They want to destroy it all, right? So I don't think that we should be doing the same as Russia. I think that
they got MAGA into place already. Now they want to dissolve MAGA, dissolve it into the J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, completely Russian-owned party. Right now it's like a competition between a couple different forces of foreign powers to control the Republican Party, which is really fun. And part of Laura Loomer going to Ukraine, which now the lefties hate Ukraine even more now, which is insane. And I wish Dylan.
So I think it was a great win for Bernie Sanders. We'll see how it all turns out. They've got a lot of winning to do. I hope they treat him fairly. Frankly, I don't care who I run against. I just hope they treat him fairly. I hope it's not going to be a rigged deal because there's a lot of bad things going on, and I hope it's not going to be one of those. So we'll see what happens. But I congratulate Bernie Sanders, and if it's going to be him, he certainly has a substantial lead. We'll see what happens.
Will Bernie be the nominee?
I think so, unless they cheat him out of it. I think so. I think Bernie is looking more and more like he'll be the nominee, unless they cheat him out of it. A lot of people thought he was going to be the nominee last time, and that didn't work out. I think they're watching it very closely. I would imagine so.
Like when he was doing shit like this, to say that we want to use Kyle Kulinski like that, I'm sorry, just fundamentally misstates or misunderstands how Kyle Kulinski is appearing right now in our media environment, because nobody thought that Donald Trump was a Democrat. Nobody thought that that Donald Trump was like supportive of Bernie Sanders as like a candidate, just that there was like some camaraderie or kinship there. It's a fundamentally different type of thing. Whereas with Kyle Kulinski, people think that he speaks for the Democratic Party, that he's a Democrat, that we're all on the same team.
I was here to be a good person to have here for that conversation. But I would just say that when I'm talking to people, I've gotten a surprising number of people to not vote Republican by showing them a Joe Rogan post. But before he was a complete cuck, like I said, even Joe Rogan doesn't like this guy. Or even right now, I can get a Republican to not vote Republican, and you can say like there's second and third orders that can like really destroy us about that if they are successful in making the Republican Party even worse. But I can get Republicans to not vote Republican right now by showing them a Tucker Carlson video, which I do think is very dangerous, and that's the whole Hunter Biden conversation. Then you have to have a conversation about how likely do you think it is that would be successful, and who are the figures you're pushing, and what are they saying. So like Sauger from Breaking Points, I think he might just be an asshole that can help us like say negative things about Republicans sometimes. But I think Tucker Carlson is very powerful and dangerous to play with. So I'm anti like Hunter Biden doing that for that reason. It is I
would only be anti Hunter Biden if he only went on there.
Like Sagar is better for us because Sagar is a Republican, and he says he's a Republican. Nobody's going to make that mistake of assuming that we're on the same team as him. Crystal Ball is insanely dangerous. She might be the largest figure on the like Marxist left that is dangerous to us. If I do a platform, I'm pretty sure. I think Breaking Points and that org and like Kyle Kulinski and Crystal Ball combined, I think have a far, far, far bigger reach, I think, than the Majority Report, right? I think they're the largest like of this, I don't know if it's alt left or Marxist left media platform right now.
He like jerked off Tucker Carlson the whole time.
They went in on the Israel point. Yeah. The Israel point, even after Hunter Biden's like, we both related around the one core issue that Israel is the one that leaked my nude photos and destroyed my father. No. Israel, they went fully into that.
If he just went on there and jerked off Tucker Carlson, I would say that is absolutely bad. If you're going on these platforms, you should be somewhat adversarial, and you should have a real conversation, and at least...
Hunter Biden is nice because he's honest and because he's decently smart, and because he likes Biden. Hell yeah. But just from what I've seen of him, he's a little bit of a sloppy, so careful. Just don't get your hopes on that. Yeah.
Show the audience at least one point that you disagree on.
I'm sure he did something, but overall negative in my opinion. I need to watch it, to be fair. Yeah.
I'd like to try to unpack Wick's metaphor there, where the idea of someone who had 50 videos that were anti-MAGA and then one that was anti-black. And I think that obviously is designed to morally load some of this in a way that isn't quite analogous, because it offends us very viscerally to the concept of being racist is so obviously wrong. But socialism and progressive ideas are not so obviously wrong. They don't creep. They're not as malignant and irrational as that. And there's a lot more people that are open to those ideas today. Whereas, I don't think. I might have to chew on this a little bit more, but what I'm trying, go for it, Kyle.
It's been an insidious process, right? The Democrats have been accused of socialism for the past 10 years or so, which has made it a lot easier for actual socialist ideas to establish themselves as being acceptable within the a lot of people's minds of what the democratic framework should be. I think that's been one of the biggest problems with the way that the process has gone to this point, and insofar as bringing in the Socialist Party or the DSA into the Democratic Party, rather.
So two things.
Sure.
One, it's been way more than 10 years. I remember Rush Limbaugh back in the day calling Clinton a socialist, right? I remember they used to say this about Democrats in the 80s, and I'd assume the 70s as well, right?
Yeah, right, with Carter.
Right? This has been a thing for forever. And
sure,
two, I do take issue with the framing that socialism isn't as obviously bad as racism. I kind of think it is. I kind of would argue that it might be, but that's
that socialism is far worse than racism. Racism comes in all shapes and sizes. I mean, not that it's good, but
it's been way more than 10 years. I remember Rush Limbaugh back in the day calling Clinton a socialist, right? I remember they used to say this about Democrats in the 80s, and I'd assume the 70s as well, right?
Yeah, right, with Carter.
Right? This has been a thing for forever. And
sure,
two, I do take issue with the framing that socialism isn't as obviously bad as racism. I kind of think it is. I kind of would argue that it might be, but that's a discussion we can have if you like.
Let me try another tack with it here. So imagine we are back in the 1960s where racism was more virulent and alive. You might choose the social media person, maybe there's some late night show and 50 of their jokes are punching against the right and one of their jokes is super racist. You might still say, I would rather these racists watch this guy and stay racist as they're already going to be, but move them more towards a rational position on these very important things. I think that's why I'm against sort of the moral loading of that question here. I think we do live in a place where those people are, if you're a Kyle Kalinske fan, you're already going to be open to socialism. And so if you use a Kyle Kalinske clip to radicalize someone against Republicans, but they're already a socialist, they're already a Kyle Kalinske fan, I don't think you're really increasing the harm and increasing the amount of socialism in some serious degree. And that is outweighed by what you're doing in bringing them against MAGA. I think there's a fine line that we're going to have to search for in this political battle that we're facing. We need to be afraid of alienating too many people, right?
Well, here's the thing.
even treating Jolah here as an enemy to a degree would be bad. And I would rather have peace go like
it can't be this fear of alienated people when the other side doesn't have that same fear. You have to be playing by the same rules. You have to play by the same rules. Both sides have to play by the same rules.
People like Peace Go and Hutch having open communications, having open social relationships with people like Kyle Kalinske that are a little nearer to us and a little bit more rational than Crystal and et cetera. And I think we would benefit more from having those relationships and dialogues than shutting them
Kyle
off.
is not.
People also never consider the fact that when you start to condition your relationships, people always do this. They make this error, I think, where when you start to condition your relationships based on a support for a certain political thing, people always just assume, okay, well, are we ready to cut off all these people? Well, yeah, you should be ready. But ideally, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is they'll probably just moderate a bit so that they still have access to you and your platforms, right? Like, it doesn't have to be that we're just going to assume that everybody is going to just hate each other. Now it's all gone. Nobody's going to talk to each other anymore. There has to be some assumption like, well, they would probably still want to participate, so they'll probably moderate a bit, right?
Is not on our side. He's on the side of content and content creation. I don't like when people say that Kyle is a Democrat. Kyle has voted for Jill Stein since 2008.
True.
Yeah.
I think that we fundamentally misunderstand the danger that look, I'm all for talking to even my enemies, right? Having good faith, open dialogue with even people I strenuously, vigorously disagree with. But one of the things that when you have that kind of conversation with someone, you have to make it very, very clear that there is serious, strenuous disagreement, that they are your political enemy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Jolah is, in this, my political enemy. He wants a different thing than I do, one that I feel is harmful to the overall health of not only the Democratic Party, but America as a whole. We have data on what wins elections. We have a lot of data on what wins elections. And guess what, gang? Moderation is what wins elections.
Oh, for
Blue
something,
dogs
sure.
outperform progressives who outperform the DSA. We know this. We have the data years and years and years, election after election after election after election. For some reason, people have decided that, well, yeah, we have all this data, but this guy on Twitter once said that there are secret socialists waiting to rise up as soon as the socialists...
Is what Wick says true? Yeah, this is borne out a trillion times over, that generally moderating more, is especially for Democrats, is usually what helps you win elections. This has just come out over and over and over and over again.
Gets nominated for a primary position, or the youth voters will turn out this time, I swear, right? It doesn't happen. We can look at the stuff that we know to work, and we can use that. And I don't know why we have to pretend that, well, maybe if we just sidle up with the socialisms or the socialists, or we need them on our side. I would argue that having a socialist on my side pushes 10 moderates away. For every one socialist vote we gain, we'll lose 10 other voters. I think it's just a simple math equation, and moderating wins.
Moderating's good.
None of it is simple,
I think
though.
that
I mean,
might
like, there
win
could be different...
in general on long trends, but it might not meet certain moments.
Yeah, that might be true. Yeah.
And I think we
What
come
does that
to these-
mean?
Why is moderation not a benefit for the Conservative Party? This gets complicated, but like something I said before is that, like, in a way, Trump is kind of a moderate. If we're just doing like a policy analysis, like Trump, like on the policy platform and everything that Trump ran on, and then even to some extent, like the policies that he's kind of pushed for, if you call them policies, they've definitely gotten worse in his second term. But in his first term, like the far right position would have been the extreme neocon position, that we need to go to war with everybody and everything needs to be privatized and where big corporations are good and blah, blah. This was like the conservative position. Trump technically, like policy-wise, I believe was kind of considered moderate, but the thing is, he wasn't really competing on the policy level. Trump was not like a policy wonk, and that's not the thing that people were voting for him for.
I mean, is of course it would tend towards sort of the Overton center over time and some sort of establishment, some sort of tendency.
I also think too, you have to be careful when people say moderate. If you have like a socialist in a conversation, when people talk about like moderate for Democrats, they use this definition of like, oh, you think that Democrats should be trying to appeal to Republican voters, to moderate Republican voters? No, it means that like you push for like police reform or some form of like tuition reimbursement for certain types of workers, as opposed to like universal free college or abolish the police, right? It doesn't mean you have to appeal to conservatives. It means that you try to appeal to moderate Democrat voters.
Like you wouldn't, it wouldn't be rational to assume that there'd be a system that's just bouncing from extreme to extreme. Of course, some sort of average and center. I mean, I guess I would have to look more at what data you're pulling from to understand how this fits into your argument, but you can't imagine a situation where an extreme event happens, so it needs an outside of conventional solution.
Sure, I think you can obviously look at outliers and things like that, but
the Senate and the Congress, like it's a numbers game. Like even if we're gonna miss one because somebody is too moderate, we're gonna on average win most of them.
But what I'm saying is that one could be a year rather than an individual in a year. I'm saying you could have a year.
I would also rather that. Mm-hmm. That we miss a year and then usually we're winning.
I'm not trying to argue that there's nothing to that concept of generally elections are won by moderate candidates, but I would say, you know, there's exceptions to every statistical data set.
One of the problems we're having actually right now is gerrymandering has an interesting side effect in that it makes certain districts more extreme, right? So if we were Republicans and we wanted to gerrymander a state to be more red, to have more congressmen come from red districts, we would dilute the Republicans, right? We would make a +8 Republican district into a +2 Republican district, and then we would pool all the Democratic voters into one district. So they get 1, and we get 8, right? Maybe we get 8 representatives. But the problem with that is that when we have these cobalt blue districts, the progressives have the far left, the DSA types, have a far more likely chance of winning. And this works in reverse too, right? When the Democrats, again, decide to gerrymander and they pool all the Republicans into a single district or a couple districts.
I feel like that's how it usually happens, though. I feel like usually in gerrymandering, you can't just pool every single Republican into like one ruby red district. Instead, what happens is we turn our like
that's how gerrymandering works.
We usually turn our cobalt blue districts into we bring down our super blue districts.
Wick was talking from the other perspective. Mouton is coming from the other. Wick was speaking like a Republican.
Yeah, I figured it out.
Oh, okay.
In order to be,
to break them up.
Mm-hmm. In order to be, what's the word? In order to fight more in like other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, but how you usually do that is by pooling all the Republican voters or most of the Republican voters into one area, and then, look at how Virginia tried to do it. Right?
Yeah.
That's exactly how they did it.
But now, like some areas are even more fightable in Virginia. But like overall, we lost a few seats. Yes.
Well, that's the risk you take with gerrymandering.
Yes.
Because if you one of the reasons that they call it a dummy mander is because they'll assume. Okay, we're going to live in a R+8 environment, and so these seats are still safe, but then a D+10 environment comes along, and those safe seats become competitive.
Yeah, so kind of what I'm trying to say here is like, well, sure, we can have one seat then that's like more crazy. I agree with you there. But we are going to be competitive, and I think the other seats would be more moderate because the Republicans are going to lose their crazy seats. So I don't know if like the craziness actually changes besides which side is doing the crazy. Does that make sense to you?
Well, right now, yes, but right now the Republicans are the ones that are doing most of the gerrymandering.
Yeah.
And
when Dems do it, they vote on it.
Generally, but I'm talking specifically this year.
Sure.
I guess honestly, maybe a hot take, but I don't know if primaries are serving the purpose that they should anymore. I think maybe we need to start moving away from primaries.
I don't think we need to move away from primaries. I think what Dems need to do is they need to actually coalesce around candidates quicker. And I think that we need to have something in the DNC that basically says, hey, if you're a Democrat, we're only sending like one of you to fight the DSA member. Like, we can't do this thing of like there's 3 of us that are fighting in the battle.
I think the primaries have a huge problem of the people that vote in primaries are the people that are most politically active, and the people that are most politically active are getting informed on the internet and new media and rocket fuel politics. And so we're getting a lot more change than and not it's a selection for the same kind of rocket fuel in the candidates, and that's pushing moderation out of the process. And yeah, I'm worried about that.
Are we all pro like not first or we do first past the post? Are we pro ranked choice?
I like ranked choice. I think ranked choice is probably a good.
I think it gets you the most moderate candidate, which is what you should be going for in politics. Jolah, you're muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was muted. Jungle or ranked choice is definitely better than.
I would say we should be careful to some extent with how we talk. We technically we don't want necessarily the more moderate candidate if we feel like a more extreme candidate would represent our views better or even represent the electorate better. I think ideally, well, really from a strictly procedural point of view, the primary process should deliver the most electable candidate into the general, I believe, is the goal. On the primary, you want to select for the best candidate that your party most broadly supports that's going to win in the general election, technically. Now, we prefer moderates, and we also think that moderates can win, so that's like a byproduct of that ideally, but yeah, but this...
Nothing.
Okay, yeah, I vibe with jungle, actually.
Jungle's kind of fun.
It'd be fun.
I haven't done algebra on any of these things. I have no opinion.
It's funny watching
Jolah,
that mayor guy lose for LA too. That dumbass reality TV show mayor that lost to that socialist camp. That was funny as shit.
Jolah, I'm sensing your internal sense of political homelessness right now, and I just want to commiserate with you for a moment as someone who's progressive and has some radical ideas, but at the same time wants to take things step by step and be rational. I just like to commiserate with you for a moment over being politically homeless and being too extreme for the Hillary Clintons of the world, but not extreme enough for the Nazi oyster farmers of the world, or the extreme DSA.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there's going to be some type of lane for it, especially with like internet drama. Like I have this.
Then why state mandate it? Why not have each party choose it internally? I mean, you could argue that might be a better system, but in the United States of America, we have wholly rejected party picks generally when it comes to any elected position ever. I'm trying to think. Do Americans vote on anything ever where the party picks the candidate? I think that in America, we like to vote on all those people. I don't know if it'd be a bad idea. Like, I think it's very common. I don't want to say in every system in the world, but it's very common that for like the presidents around the world or prime ministers, those are just selected by the party. Although some people will argue that when you vote for your members of parliament, usually you know who they're going to pick for the head position anyway. But I mean, even so, like the people don't usually choose. But in America, I think we just like to vote on all those. We've even trended away over time from having less democratic picks over people. So, like for instance, it used to be that our senators, our U.S. senators for the federal Congress, I think were usually just picked by the state legislatures. So your state legislature would pick 2 senators, and then those would be the people that go. The people, like in a state, wouldn't even vote on that at all. But I think we've trended more and more over time towards like we just want to have our individual citizens voting on whatever they can for elected positions.
Same number of videos attacking.
It used to be back in the day. I think like if 2 people ran, the person who lost to the president would become the vice president.
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing. Couldn't the vice president, with their current understanding of how fucking the pardon works, couldn't they have just had someone go kill the president? They become the president and pardon them.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Back in the day, you used to get your
VP
political
was from the
opponent as
other
your
party.
vice president.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So couldn't the vice president just have contracted somebody to go kill the president and then have pardoned them after the president was dead because they would become the president?
I mean, theoretically, maybe. I don't know if murder was ever initially a federal offense, though. I'm not sure. It might have just been a state offense. But I think that probably wouldn't be very smart because then your vice president could do the same thing to you next, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Be pretty dumb for pardon to work like that.
Or the extreme DSA.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there's going to be some type of lane for it, especially with like internet drama. Like I have the same number of videos attacking Hassan, Destiny, Crystal Ball, Kyle. Like I have the same number of videos going after all of them, probably even more going after the far left because I want them to be better and be improved. And I'm someone who has supported my governor, Josh Shapiro, who's very moderate, center right in some ways with like school vouchers, for example. And also,
I don't think I buy this argument of like, I just want somebody to be better. I feel like, generally speaking, you'll know if somebody feels that way. If somebody constantly has to clarify that, like, oh, I'm only doing this because I want these people to be better, then it feels like you've failed to communicate that because people aren't getting that impression. That would be my assumption. But
on Mamdani, because I think I need to listen to where the voters are going. I need to sort of work with it and get to the best place I possibly can. And yeah, I just don't agree with the.
But listening where the voters are going is
severity
going
of,
to
like, the
depend
DSA.
on what the area is, right?
Yeah, but like with the current Democratic Party voting base, I can look at all these races and I can see why these candidates were chosen where they were. Like where the Daria Lisa won, I could see where they did not put in effort with campaigning, and they did not take her seriously whatsoever until the very, very, very end, after the DSA was knocking doors for months and months and months. And that was like a 30-year incumbent who just thought they had it locked down, and they thought such a goofy candidate could not beat them, and they were wrong about it. That's one reason I'm not worried, because if Espaillat, I think his name was, if he would have done anything, he would have beat Daria Lisa. Yeah, I just don't think she's going to be there for more than one term.
Well, one question for you on that, Jolah, right? You say we should go to where the voters are going, right? Move in their direction. Is that kind of your general thought process?
We need to help guide it. We're not going to be in control of it as much as we want, but we have to help guide it to a
we
productive
would
place.
generally go with what the voters are going. Did you support El Sayed or Stevens in the primary?
I supported El Sayed, but I was really big on making sure that
so good. How did I know that?
if Haley Stevens won, that I would have shit on him if he did not support her.
Like, were you aware of the myriad of polls showing Stevens outperforming El Sayed by quite a bit
In the general?
certain instances in the general election? Like when people keep telling me, "Oh, we should go where the voters are going," and they do that from the left to say that we need to elect more left-wing candidates. But in poll after poll after poll, and election result after election result after election result, we see that in general elections, when you allow all the voters to vote, they tend to move towards the more moderate candidates. So I don't understand, like, if your position is we need to go with where the voters are going, why didn't you support Stevens in the primary?
I'm not going to be your guy to trust all these polls. I'm not going to, like, Susan Collins was down by 9 points, and I think she won by like 12 points in 2020. Anything can happen in the next 90 days. I think it's malleable. The difference
That's a huge cop-out answer, right? So are you saying then that because he's implying that, well, I only preferred El Sayed because I didn't trust the polls, or maybe, well, actually, hold on, that's not fair. Maybe he preferred him for some other policy reason or whatever. I feel like, actually, hold on, let me, backing up completely. Fuck, this, politics is like I think it's a very big, like, fucking Game of Thrones game right now, which is annoying. I do think on paper, I feel like El Sayed was a better candidate than, I'm sorry, would have been a better lawmaker than Haley Stevens. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if aside from the fucking AIPAC obsession, I don't know if El Sayed said anything I disagreed with. Actually, I'm not sure. Like he calls out Ukraine, like, which is good, which is nice, like in a good way. Like he has a strong position on that. He calls himself a capitalist, and I don't know how much that'll hold, but yeah, I don't know. It's yeah.
Abdul loses. What do you think is going to be the issue?
I think that, well, one, I've never seen a Muslim candidate be successful in American politics whatsoever. That'll be a big issue. It was also a big issue for, like, Kamala, for example. Republicans are just freaking, racist as hell. You saw that one guy, Amir Hassan, his name was. Trump endorsed him in the one district. And the Republican district voted for a white guy that was not even in the race anymore. He had no profile picture. Amir Hassan got 30% of the vote. The white guy got 50%. He got a majority of, he wasn't even running. That's how racist they are. So I think that'll be part of it.
So you don't think it will be because the Democrats didn't support him?
I've been extremely vocal about Haley and McMorrow. I think they've given a masterclass in supporting the candidate that they lost to. They're going above and beyond my expectations. I've been very.
I don't know what he means by above and beyond. I feel like this is every single Democratic politician when they lose. I think they generally support the other candidate, but okay.
Critical of, like, Jasmine Crockett for not doing that, and also Cori Bush for not doing that.
I think people come down. Oh man, especially. Sorry, I'm not trying to do the race wars, okay? But especially white people on Crockett. You want to talk about? I don't know, man. There's a lot of weird stuff there with how people were treating Crockett and were treating the people in that
camp.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just got the idea of oh man, dude, if it's like Kamala Harris versus like a progressive or like a DSA type white guy for like in the primaries, that's going to be brutal.
So I think I'm pretty consistent along these lines, and that's why I'm saying to you guys, like, you got to be careful who you call your enemies right away, because I'm definitely not. But
Well, that's why I'm asking these questions, because I have no idea. So,
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it.
no, it's all good.
Now,
Yeah,
since
Go for it, Kyle.
since we've been talking about the race in Michigan so much, I do want to be clear that my understanding is that El Sayed is explicitly
Bean said,
not a member of the
Jasmine
DSA.
was
And
being a sore loser, Destiny.
What?
Bean in your TGG chat said Jasmine was being a sore loser.
That might be true. I've heard that said, but every time I try to find clips of that, I can't. I just haven't seen that. I think the thing that I saw the most, there were two big things that I saw. One thing that I saw was claims about her saying that she wouldn't campaign for Tallarico explicitly or whatever. That's just not true. She said that she was going to, or that, like, she wasn't endorsing him, and she's not going to campaign for him, even though she promised or something. What I saw was her saying that she was going to use her time to campaign for down ballot people, and that she supported the ballot. I don't know if she said Tallarico's name explicitly. I don't think she did, but that she supported, she supported the winner and will support the Democratic ticket, and she's going to spend her time campaigning for down ballot people. That's what she said. And
Isn't
then
this like kind of what Abdul El Sayed would say?
Well,
When
according
he
to
was
that
asked-
one article, yes. People don't. Yeah, according to that article, when he was asked if he would directly endorse Stevens or whatever, that technically that is what he said. So that was one claim I saw, and then another claim was that there were a lot of weird, like, racial attacks that Jasmine Crockett's camp was making. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that 100%. I do agree, though, that it did get ugly, but I think, and then I got an emailer who was a staffer who said this, and then I've seen discourse around, like, Keith Edwards and stuff about this. I could be wrong on it, but it does seem like that campaign did get a little bit racial, but it was because there was so much push from white people outside of Texas who were coming down really hard on Crockett's camp, and that the people in Crockett's camp were, like, getting a little bit, like, poisoned by that discourse. So I feel like Crockett's camp and, like, the people supporting her were responding to a lot of that white hostility that was coming from outside of Texas is the feeling.
Outside Tallarico's camp.
Yeah, like, I haven't seen Tallarico do anything fucked at all. I haven't seen him do anything bad at all, or engage in any rhetoric or be like, oh, that's a little bit dicey. But, like, especially for young white socialists outside of Texas, the total lack of understanding of any social issues at all is a huge problem with Marxist types, especially because I'm pathologizing, or I guess psychoanalyzing a bit, but especially because I think that, like, white people want a struggle too. That's why, a lot of them, wanted to be like, oh, I'm a furry, or I'm non-binary, or I have DID, or whatever, like, because they can't claim that they're poor or oppressed in other ways. But the Marxist framing of, like, everything is just class, and it's like, oh my God, like, I make $2 million a year, but I'm just a worker like Hassan technically, so I am working class. That total abandonment of, like, all social, cultural understanding, I think definitely depending on where you're at, it's going to come across really badly. And I think the Marxist types are going to have a big problem with that. But we'll see how they adapt, I guess.
No, it's all good.
Now,
Yeah,
so
so go for it, Kyle.
since we've been talking about the race in Michigan so much, I do want to be clear that my understanding is that El Sayed is explicitly not a member of the DSA, and he's referred to himself as a regulated capitalist. Is there any concern that he's being dishonest with this identification?
My concern with El Sayed is his associations with people I do consider to be cheerleaders of mass murder, animal abusers, and basically anti-Semitic terrorist simps. I worry that he isn't distancing himself as I feel he needs to do from this, and it does make me wonder why. Right? Why is he continuing to play footsie with someone like Hassan Piker? Does that mean that I think he's a secret socialist? I don't know, but I do wonder. It does make me question what his true motives and goals are here.
Mooton, do you have any input on that?
I think it's disgusting that he hasn't disassociated yet, but I think that we have a little bit of time. It can be hard, especially when you canvass with someone and whatnot. So I don't know at this point, like, even if he does disassociate, will I believe it? It's going to depend on what he says at this point. No matter what, I will support the Democratic nominee in Michigan. I will be out there at some point canvassing for him, and I will be canvassing in Ohio. So we'll see.
Oh, cool.
I have so for myself in that, I think for Abdul, he seems like a little bit of a competitive asshole. I think he's very annoyed with American politics in general. So when the Hassan stuff comes up, it would be super beneficial to separate. And Hassan not separating himself is extremely selfish. But, like, Ben Shapiro put up a post, and Republican senators say this shit. Like, the enemy is the enemy is inside the gates. Tuberville, Randy Fine, the shit he says. Ben Shapiro just said the other day, it turns out that importing massive numbers of Muslims from third world countries is a bad idea. Not because people get beaten in Dearborn for protesting or nearly stabbed for covering the news, but because radical Muslims create voting enclaves in Western countries and build coalitions with radicals who hate our civilization. It's like any other ethnicity. You replace Jewish there, that is literally word for word Nazism. Any other ethnicity, any other religion, any other anything. And Republicans can say that shit and skip around everywhere. So I think Abdul has a FU mentality with that, which doesn't make it right. But I think that's where personally they, Muslim American, and that's where, like, Mehdi, Hassan, I think that's why they give up.
I mean, they are all on that for APAC, by the way, but okay.
Pass to the crazy shit Hassan says, because they're annoyed that Americans can do, like, right now we're doing terrorism in Iran and war crimes and bombing civilian infrastructure, and no one gives a shit. And Democrats do, so we shouldn't be.
What do you mean no one gives a shit?
Democrats give a shit, but Republicans don't. So that's one reason why I think Abdul and like Gillibrand calling Mamdani I know people say it was a mistake. She called him a jihadist right away. She did Laura Loomer posting. Gillibrand, the leader of our Democratic Senate campaign committee, one of the leaders there, calling Mamdani a jihadist. Like, there is resentment built up there. So I don't blame them for all of it, but I do think it's I agree with criticism of Hassan for sure.
Point.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about that behavior?
But
calling you a jihadist. Can we disavow everyone?
Yeah, sure. Look, if you were out there being anti-Islamophobic or whatever, not anti-Islamophobic. If you're being anti-Islam or Islamophobic, cut that shit out. There are plenty of legit criticisms you can give to people like Hassan Piker and etc., where you don't have to mention their connections to Islam or whatever, or lack thereof at all. You don't have to go that route.
Why do you think leftists are still so keen on defending Islam / accusing others of Islamophobia? There's a lot of different camps here, and a lot of it gets really weird. So the very far left, the DSA types, will always support enemies of the United States of America. They do not blanketly support Islam. Now, this is confusing because the woke types will kind of blanketly support Islam, but you can tell the difference based on how they talk about, or if they're willing to, or when they call it like Saudi Arabia. So like Hassan types are not just like champions of Islam everywhere. They hate Saudi Arabia. They hate any of the Gulf states. They hate countries that are Islamic or whatever that are aligned with U.S. interests. They hate those motherfuckers. So, but then on the conservative side, they just view all of it the same, and they hate every fucking Muslim. And yeah, so it's, well, not all of them, but some of them do. So yeah, so it's complicated. There's like different camps and ways that people engage with Muslim stuff depending on what political ideology they have.
Jolah Brand apologized to Ron Mamdani on Monday after she falsely claimed in a radio interview that the presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City had made references to global jihad. Jolah Brand apologized for the mischaracterization of Mamdani's record and for her tone on the call.
That's not quite as sinister as it was made to sound there, Jolah. What do you think?
I think that when I listened to the interview, she called him a jihadist. She took it back after, which I expect. But she's been in the Senate for many, many, many years. She's what, like 70-something years old. She knows the implications, especially in American politics, of calling someone a jihadist. Especially, we just had recent like mosque shootings and everything. It just
can we play the clip?
See, so here's like a question that I would have. I'd be very curious, and this is why I have so many problems with like people like this. So I call them an op. I'm very curious if he's ever made a mistake like this with a far leftist. Like, so he ever accused Mamdani or accused El Sayed or accused AOC of saying something that was so incorrect, that he was so wrong on? When people are directionally incorrect consistently, it's very hard to just attribute that to, oops, you know? Like, at the very least, there's some huge bias going on with your information gathering. Something is happening there that I think is worth thinking about.
I'm interested.
Yeah, can we get the clip?
Yeah,
because like you already said earlier today that Haley Stevens on the debate stage said that she was endorsed by Obama. That turned out to be not true. And I'm wondering if this is an equally.
Yeah, I said she acted like she was.
Jolah Brand.
No, I don't think that you said she acted. I think that you said she said it.
We can play that back too. Yeah.
Yeah, you could take out my one sentence and not the 90%, 99% of what I said.
Well,
hold on. If you keep slipping lies into your rhetoric, I'm going to call it out.
It's not a lie in rhetoric because I clarified with every other word that I said.
So you misspoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that was my joke. I'm endorsed by Barack Obama. It went big on TikTok, trust me.
How? So the lie went big? How is that even helping his stance? Okay.
Trying to find the clip in question.
It was a very obscure like radio show.
I'm seeing a lot more clips of people talking about it than I am, and her apologizing than I am seeing the actual.
That's also a red flag, by the way.
I'm not really seeing that anywhere. If you happen to have it, maybe if
Here's
you're
my guess on what happened there is she heard him talking about Intifada and
Also, by the way, if I remember correctly, that statement would have just stood completely and totally unchallenged, and so would the "I'm endorsed by Obama" one, unless Mouton would have like stopped and asked, like, "Hold on, is this true?" Otherwise, that would have just gone by as a completely false statement that everybody just believed and maybe repeated themselves.
Yep.
assume jihad.
That is what she said when she clarified.
I think that's fair, but also at the same time a little bit racist. Like,
You can argue does globalize. He never said that. I don't think. He just refused to condemn it at first, and then he did condemn globalizing Intifada.
This is also way different. Even if she did call him a jihadist, which I think they're going to get to, and she didn't. Even if she did call him a jihadist, there's a huge difference between, oh my God, did you hear that this white woman called this Muslim man a jihadist? Like, ooh, that's really weird. Like that kind of literally just sounds like racism or Islamophobia. Like that sounds like racism. That's weird to me. And it's like, okay, well, she didn't quite call him a jihadist, but she said it felt like he was supporting jihad because he wouldn't disavow the statement, we need to globalize the Intifada. And it's like, okay, well, hold on then. The jihad statement or word didn't materialize from the racist white brain. It seems like it was directly a reaction to the statement of globalize the Intifada, which is crazy, by the way. And a lot of Marxist people and then some retarded progressives will try to wokeify that statement and say globalize the Intifada doesn't actually mean anything bad. Intifada just means struggle or whatever bullshit. No, that's fucking retarded. Okay, you globalize the Intifada is a call for jihad, and you're retarded if you think otherwise. You're so fucking brain broken and lost. You never allow any other type of rhetoric like that to be utilized by neo-Nazis, white identitarians, or any other group that you don't identify with. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy statement, and fucking retarded if you support it. You are a fucking retard for supporting that statement. Unless you are in favor of some kind of jihad, in which case, based, at least you're honest.
I'll clarify here. I would say I wouldn't criticize someone as being racist for that, but I would internally assume that they're probably a little racist after that. If you hear Intifada and you're like, he's a jihadist, I don't know. I don't know.
I'd have to see the clip. I'd have to see it.
Yeah.
All
I have no opinion until I see the clip on what she actually said. So.
All right, moving forward a little bit here. Jolah, what are you the most worried about these relationships breaking down, and what that would call? What do you got?
Jolah, did Hassan shock his dog?
Most likely.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Most likely.
I had to figure out where we're at.
Most likely, though. That's it. Most likely. Okay. Well, we'll let that one slide, I guess. Most likely. Okay, maybe.
Solid.
Everyone I know with that dog does use shock training. Every single person I know with that designer dog, so I would not be surprised.
Okay.
Do you think that's bad?
Yeah, I lean on the side of it being bad. I think lying about it would be the worst thing, though.
What about
Okay,
keeping the dog in the
that's
corner for
fair.
like 6 hours a day with a shock?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest animal cruelty complaint there.
that's
It's
the
just
worst
the
part.
general way he's keeping the dog.
Look, I think there could be a debate on like are shock collars a viable way to train your dog.
I'm against that personally.
But the issue is a lot of people will just go out of their way to simply lie about all of it, right? And simply say, no, it never happened at all.
Kinda
And this
weird.
is a problem I have with a lot of people from that corner of the internet, right? Is I don't know, they seem to lie a lot. And until they get caught, if they get caught, they just, oh, it was a misspeak. Sorry. Oh, you're going to call me out for 1% of my words and 99% of the other words are there. But if we don't call you out, it never gets corrected and the lie just keeps spreading. And I think that's a problem.
I think
Yeah,
this
just
is
like
an
when
issue.
Jolah Brand said the jihadist comment, and then she took it back after because she misspoke, right?
I mean, we can't even find it, so I don't even know if she ever said it.
But she did misspeak, and she took it back after she
I'd
clarified.
have to see.
what
I'd
she
have to
meant.
see her say it. I haven't seen it yet.
I might have found it. It's a 31-minute radio show.
Tuck in, everyone.
It
Tuck
was a
in,
weird,
everyone.
like- yeah, we're gonna stay here for 30. Yeah.
All right, someone in chat figure it out for us. Somebody's chat because we don't have a chat. I think there's a little bit more meat on this dog collar shocking than meets the eye. You know, it's easy to write it off as just desperate drama farmers trying to attack Hassan. But I think what really irks people in the center left here is that it's just another sign of the dishonesty and hypocrisy and the way that these people carry themselves. There's rules for thee but not for me, and just a constant stream of misinformation. Having said that, I would like to caution to our side as a segue into how I'd like us to treat the left and the DSA, and especially people like Jolah or more like Kyle, etc.
Not me, Kyle Kalinske, to be clear.
Yeah, Kyle Kalinske, not this one. Treat this guy like shit. Kyle, regular Kyle here, treat him like shit.
Kami.
Anyways, when we keep bringing this up, if we don't choose our words carefully, if we don't measure our words the way that they refuse to, then we come off as drama farmers and unserious internet losers that aren't actually engaged in real political discourse. Now, that's fair for me because
This guy is a little behind. I do agree with him principally, but you have to be aware that that is how the other side is playing now. You need to see where the game is to understand how you can respond accordingly. You have to understand that if one side is held to account and the other side's not, that's a game that you will probably always lose. So just be aware of it. Be careful.
I am an unserious loser, not engaged in serious discourse, but I don't want that to infect you people, okay? And I think that is my big worry in I don't think Wick is wrong. I don't think Mouton is wrong when he says that people like Kyle Kalinske and the DSA are my and our political enemies. But we shouldn't carry ourselves out there saying, pitchforks, Kyle Kalinske is our enemy. What we should instead do, is measure ourselves.
We should. No, I'm not
It's
measuring. I want
pitchfork
to be very
time.
clear because you're right.
It's pitchfork
I
time.
want to be very particular and careful with my words, so you know, dear viewer, that I mean what I say when I say it. Kyle Kalinske is an anti-American dirtbag who is our political enemy, who is someone is rotten to the core, who is a liar and a cheat and a sneak thief, and we need him out of the coalition. Hassan Piker is a cheerleader of mass murderer. He is a terrorist supporter. He loves Hamas, Hezbollah, etc. And he is someone we should vocally condemn and never campaign with.
And he's a
He
Russian
is
and Chinese
someone that we
stooge.
need to distance ourselves from quite a bit. I'm being very careful and very particular with my words. I'm not trying to oversell it. This is just the God's honest truth.
I think you are
Kyle
speaking
Kalinske
to-
isn't on anybody's
you can't say
side.
these things because you might be taken out of context, or you can't say these things. These are so like incendiary. No, I want to be incendiary. I want to incendiary these.
I love
people, right?
incendiary.
Like, rhetorically, right? I want them out. I want to burn them out.
I love incendiary. I want effective. So how do you think those words sound on the ears of the average Hassan fan or the average?
I don't
Kyle
care what they
Kalinske
sound to the ears of the average Hassan fan. They're not my target audience.
Is there a single Hassan fan? Like, if you were in public and you're at like a Democratic event and someone's like, "Oh, I love Hassan Piker," what do you say to him? Do you try to convince
Did you
him?
know he
to
shocked
like
his
you, or
dog?
do you give up?
I asked him, "What do you know that he cheered his that the flag of?"
There's another interesting transference here where it's like nobody is saying that you have to shit on all Hassan fans. Nobody's saying you have to shit on all DSA voters. We're talking about targeting like our messaging towards the top of these funnels, of the Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Balls, of the Sam Cedar and Emma Vigeland, of the political discourse at the top. Not like find the voters and tell them that they're trash, they're worthless trash. Like
Hezbollah is his favorite flag? Do you know that he praised Mao Zedong, who killed 40 million people? Do you know that he shocked his dog? Do you know that he once said that Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel, right? Like, do you know all these comments? And you go through. And if he does, if the person I'm talking with doesn't know that, then I can excuse ignorance. And ignorance can be excused. Ignorance can be corrected. But if that person is saying, yeah, and I love it, then that person is my political enemy. He should not be in that room with me.
It's not. That's not the way it works.
Democrat.
In that person's brain, there's a lineup of 50 TikToks of Hassan going, he thinks I'm a terrorist sympathizer. Who's the real This guy's got a log of TikToks 10 years deep of disinformation. And so I think we need to do better at reaching these people. And I think if we come across too much as these just inflammatory, internet dorks that are worried about a dog shock collar, I don't think that's effective politics.
The problem with the dog shock collar thing isn't that he chalked the dog. The problem is that he was shocking the dog to sit in place for like 6 to 8 hours a day on his stream.
But it's such a good litmus test. Like this is the thing that I used to harp on so much, and I still do, but I feel like time has proven me correct on this, that the little lies allow you to get away with the big lies, and a little lie is just a really good test of where your audience is and where their allegiances lie. If you're able to push a little lie like that and get people to wholeheartedly believe it, it communicates something about the way that you're able to push them on larger lies, like does Hassan support terrorist attacks on what he perceives to be Western-aligned things? The answer to that is yes, he does.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, and I think
lied about it.
If you can establish a relationship with these people and then speak to them that way, then they're more likely for that to break through rather than the 1,000th tweet.
Why are we treating Hassan fans are very, very small. They have a lot of influence because they're in a lot of positions of power, but he's getting like 30 to 50K viewers a stream. He's not Joe Rogan. He's not like these big, huge influencer guys. He has a lot of influence because the people in the pundit class, the people in the podcaster class like him for whatever reason. But him on his own, his fans, we don't need to appeal to them.
Hassan is starting to get smoke as well on mainstream media, and I promise you that a lot of his fans are going to leave because they're going to actually see the context of what he's been saying. Like he said, in a utilitarian standpoint, it's better to rich women than it is to like poor women or whatever. These are crazy things that he's saying, and they're getting thrown out there. People are going to look at it. I'm not saying it's going to be the majority of Hassan's audience, but there are going to be some people in there with a mind for themselves and be like, maybe this isn't the community I want to be in.
Maybe,
yeah. I would expect there to be at least a few casual Hassan fans that don't really have like the breadth of knowledge of everything that he's ever said, but maybe they're like one or two things that he said because they're also for having like a universal healthcare system in America, and then they're not like, again, it's that insidiousness of it where there's like some adjacency, and then that little bit of adjacency is how they start introducing you to like Chinese apologia and abolishing the police in the Senate.
Just real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wick.
Yeah, before you do that, just to address something that some people in my audience are saying, and maybe there's some people in Moots or Jolah's audience or our hosts here audience that might be saying the same thing. Like, why are we talking about Hassan? It's because Hassan is being brought up on all these major news channels, especially Fox News, because El Said and Hong and other Democratic politicians have decided to welcome this guy into their camps. Now we have to discuss it because the Republicans are going to be discussing it every day for the next.
They might not be your audience. Some of your members might not be tuned into the mainstream media right now, but Fox News is talking about him. I believe MS Now. Like he is on all of these broadcasts, and his words are being used. People are seeing what he's saying. He is a popular figure on MS Now and news media to be talked about. That's why we're talking about him.
Yeah.
So you're more
I also
worried.
think that in general they don't cover like the time we spend talking about Hassan, and I'm happy that Brian Tyler Cohen does not do this. I'm happy that Pondering Politics does not do this. I'm happy that these channels focus on attacking Trump, because for every one DSA member we have, they have like dozens and dozens and dozens of criminals running as Republicans, and I want to keep the fire on them. Regardless, I don't want it to be about Hassan Piker, which is why I'd rather him dip out. But even with him in the conversation, he's not near the most deplorable of people in the news cycle versus actual Republican congressmen.
Sure, but when they're using him against us in these races, that's the problem.
Yeah, you're less worried about.
They should just pivot back to issues people care about if they ask about Hassan.
The media is going to go with the narrative that gets them the most clicks and views. The media is going to promote.
Like this is just great cover. It's just like all these guys always engage in the absolute perfect things to say if you were trying to give unlimited cover for people like Hassan. Right, like focus on it doesn't even make sense. Again, like, and what did the DSA types always tell you? What do people always say? We're in the primaries. It's okay to be harsh towards the party. We're in the primaries right now. We're supposed to be fighting right now. Like, is this not the time? If you were ever going to attack the DSA types and Hassan, would it not be now in the primaries? Isn't that the point of the primaries? Is this now when we should be doing this? Like, yes.
The people who are new to the system, this is something that they're going to do. We don't get a choice. Look at El Said's interviews on I think CNN. I think it might have been MSNBC. Don't quote me. Right? He was visibly annoyed that people kept asking him about Hassan, but he better get used to it, baby, because they're absolutely going to keep doing that because it's what gets attention.
There's also what I said before. We can actually apply this both ways. One of the things I said before was people are saying, well, isn't this good? It'll strengthen the Democratic Party or whatever. Yes, ideally it will strengthen the Democratic Party, but only if you're allowed to actually have the fights. You have to have the fights for it to have the strengthening effect. And one of the things that you're potentially going to see with Hassan aligned people, I guess, coming up is that Republicans are going to be going really fucking hard on all of the statements that Hassan has made that like these other politicians have never accounted for, and that none of the other supposedly lib left aligned, but DSA sweeping actuality political people have covered. So like when Hassan went on Mehdi Hassan's show, Mehdi is known for being a tough interviewer guy when he's trying to be. He should have asked Hassan, he should have pushed him on these questions. He should have actually tried to push him more on these particular topics. And he didn't. He totally failed there. And that failure isn't just a frustration to me, who is like, well, fuck, it's annoying that he keeps getting away with so much. It also technically hurts the entire Democratic Party, because now all of these clips that Republicans are playing, we should have already understood where we stood with these. Like the party should have understood, the politicians should have understood, but nobody, I don't even know how many of them actually knew, because nobody was doing their job covering it. So they weren't strengthened by their fight with the lib left. We're not strengthened by our fight with them because these people don't want us to fight.
I love Josiah. He is my boy. He is my friend. But I do think that he needs to punch left just a smidge. For every 100 Trump bad videos he does, he should do one Hassan bad video. I think that's a good ratio.
The average Michigan voter, I come from the Midwest, the state literally right next to Ohio. The average voter is not going to jive with what Hassan's saying about women getting. These are just deplorable things, and Abdul El Sayed should absolutely step away from him, or these attack ads are going to work.
Yeah. So you I've been trying to say this for all. You two have been are more worried about the damage that the right will use him to affect than of the positives of converting the Kyle Kalinske fans and the Hassan fans.
Yes.
No, I don't need the 18-year-olds to maybe go vote this time. I'm okay on that.
Damn.
So you think there's this part of the anti-establishment that is just sort of lost to our rational causes?
I mean, they'll grow up.
They'll get up.
They'll get with the program in a few years. But right
now,
remember, they're the far left side. They don't really ever try to make arguments to court moderates. They always attack and disparage moderates. You're never hearing these far left types guys be like, we got to try to appeal to moderate voters more. I mean, I guess in a way they kind of do, but it's by being subversive and lying about what their actual policy aims are. Right, like I need to, I'm just for Medicare for all. That's all I care.
50-year-old RFK fans. I think there's no growing out of stupid and gullible at some point. But you know what? Maybe we can win, even though the stupid and gullible are just all gonna team up on the right eventually.
Again,
I don't know.
Most voters, as Mouton said, most medium voters are turned off when the politicians cozy up with extremists like Hassan, who has said some deplorable shit. And
watch terrorists go and take over a vote.
Yes. They are going to wonder why El Sayed is having a really hard time answering these basic questions when it comes.
If the general election between you and Hassan, who do you think a majority of Democratic politicians would vote for? I don't know what your question is. If you're asking like from a policy perspective, I mean, I would say I'm far more aligned with the general Democratic Party base in terms of policy. But I mean, obviously, it's going to all come down to rhetoric and media support and everything else. And I don't know. Who the fuck knows?
Good at swallowing here.
With that said, discourse. We do indeed have a long goal.
Actually, I think I would win by default because I think I love black people. And I actually think the thing that would hurt... Wait, who knows what would hurt Hassan probably more than anything else?
Muslim?
Yeah, not the Muslim thing, but being Turkish. So it wouldn't even be on like the grounds of like any policy debate or even any of the crazy things he said. I think it would just be the fact that he was like basically raised in Turkey. I think people would feel really weird about that. Would be my guess, but I don't know.
Discussion amongst the left as of late on the internet in regards to the DSA's pull.
You'd actually destroy him if it was just actual politicians deciding who has better rhetoric. I mean, it depends on what you mean. I guess, like, I would have to... Did I go back in this? Oh my God, I just misclicked. I've never done political rhetoric before in terms of like trying to win broad support from an electorate. Whereas I think Hassan is like exclusively practicing that now. Like all of my stuff is like online debate stuff, or like you could say maybe wonky policy stuff or history debates or blood sports debates or whatever. So I've never even tried to do like actual appeal to political people rhetoric. Like Hassan is practicing almost on a daily basis. Like all of his stuff is like rhetoric practice. So I don't know. I mean, I would hope I could.
Most voters, as Mouton said, most medium voters are turned off when the politicians cozy up with extremists like Hassan, who has said some deplorable shit. And
watch terrorists go and take over a vote. Yes.
They are going...
WTF, 2 Moutons?
To wonder why El Sayed is having a really hard time answering these basic questions when it comes to Hassan and deflecting, and it's going to lose us votes. We might, by going all in with Hassan, get maybe 1% to 2% of the electorate go in because it's more progressive, more left, etc. But we're going to lose 10% to 20% of the moderates who are like, I don't want to associate with a terrorist supporter.
It is kind of crazy if you think about it, how close these elections are, right? Like, forgetting everything else and the polling messes and everything else, is like, what are the chances that both of these come down to like thousands of votes?
Yeah.
What was the final count for Wisconsin?
It was in the 300s.
What? No, like the difference. I'm sorry, like the difference in votes. Was it within like 3,000 or 4,000 or?
I believe so. Let me see. Wisconsin.
Within 5K? Okay. Within a point then, right?
Yeah. It was like within half of a point or some shit. It was crazy. I'm pulling it up.
So
I've seen the most insufferable behavior from liberal Democrat influencers this primary season. I've lost all respect I once had for nearly all of them.
So 315,600. Where the fuck is?
Mercado.
These sites are worse than ads.
Based.
Is it showing me the Republican? I want to see the Democrat.
Oh, 3,800 vote difference. That's crazy. 0.5%. The script writers are getting
wacky.
Getting.
They're gonna make it one vote in the future election.
Seriously, Jesus. Why is Mercado crying? If you don't know, and this is just it's a messaging problem, but if you don't know anything about the lefty stuff, then the only thing you ever see publicly is the lefty people advocate hard for their candidate because they want to make the country a better place and they think that libs aren't fighting hard enough. And then if their candidates win or if their candidates lose, a whole bunch of moderate libs start swinging the fuck out for seemingly no reason and attacking people who just want to be like stronger fighters for the Democratic Party. That's what it looks like to a lot of these guys because the lefty people, the Hassan Piker types, are so mask on. And think about it, like I said this to IRI last night. I don't think people appreciate, this is why I'm so annoyed by my fucking Twitch ban. People don't appreciate how insulated Twitch is as a platform. It is like very much like its own thing. Nobody is going to know what the fuck is going on Twitch unless you're like an active like Twitch stream viewer, which is very few people. So all the evil shit or whatever the stuff that I complain about or Hutcherlin or anybody else complains about, I don't know why I said anybody else. It's just us three and MrMouton now, I guess. Okay, us four. When you are complaining, when you're talking about this stuff, they're not seeing any of it. But then when you look at the larger interviews that like Hassan Piker is giving, when he's going on Mehdi Hassan or any other platform, it's always just a guy who's like really liberal. He seems like a kind of an extremist, like liberal progressive. He just wants healthcare for all and he really wants workers' rights and everything else. And then when you start saying like, oh, I don't know, this guy's like a Marxist weirdo, people are like, that are you, what is he, a commie? What are you, like a Republican? Like that's just a really weird thing to say. They don't see any of this anywhere else. So XQC calls Hassan a liberal? Yeah.
And if you just change the subject when Fox News is asking Abdul about like, hey, how do you feel about your friend talking about like rich women being better than poor women? And he just goes, oh, well, I think that we should have Medicare for all, blah, blah. That is not a good look. The average voter is not going to like that.
They see right through it, yeah.
They'll probably say that, well, I'm assuming they'll say that this person is, this person never actually did this and Donald Trump is the biggest rapist of all time. I assume that's going to be the pivot that they try.
Yeah, it would be a lot better if he just nipped it in the bud and got it out of there, like Mamdani did to his credit when he disavowed what Hassan had said. Anyway, MrMouton sent me the clip in question. It is a little over 6 minutes long. It is a Reddit post. I don't know how to 2x it and make it faster. I tried to scan through it and find the exact moment where the word jihad was used. I wasn't able to do it. Shall we watch this clip together and try and find it? All right.
Yep.
Sharing
Do
screen.
Racism snooping. After we watch the clip, we'll all rate it on a 1 to 10 on how racist it was.
All right. Everybody, let me know when I'm good to start.
I'm ready.
Ready.
Go for it.
Jolah?
Good to go.
Good to go.
James, we set?
Sure.
Wonderful.
Let's go.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call and question. I wanted to ask two very pertinent questions about the threats facing the Jewish community, unfortunately, from Zohar Mamdani. There was a bill that I was reading about that, unfortunately, he wants to target synagogues and Jewish institutions which donate to nonprofits, which are medical institutions like United Hatzalah and Magan David Adom, which is like the Jewish Red Cross. So how do we make sure that Jewish institutions are protected from his plans to punish and fine our institutions which fundraise these medical nonprofits, which do work both here in the United States and in Israel and other countries in the world? And also, how can we hold Mr. Mamdani accountable for his glorifying association of Hamas and other terror bombings of the Intifada in 1990s, where over 1,000 Jewish Israelis were killed, to his revisionist Holocaust knowledge, to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where Jews were mass exterminated and faced threats? He compared when Jews were killed to when Jews fought back against Nazis. It's quite despicable. I'm sorry.
Gabe, thank you for your call. There's a lot in there, Senator, some of which may be inaccurate. So I don't know, I can't fact check everything in real time, but do you know any of that to be inaccurate or accurate, including the original premise that he would somehow target synagogues if they were contributing to groups like Hatzalah, ambulance services, in a way that he could hurt the synagogues? I just don't want to give out information that's false, but I also don't want to share from information that's true.
Well, the caller is exactly the...
New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad. This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. So these are the kinds of things that if Mr. Mamdani is elected our mayor, we'll need to assure all New Yorkers that he will protect all Jews and protect houses of worship and protect funding for not-for-profits that meet the needs of these communities. Those are the things he'll have to do as our mayor.
He would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York. Do you dispute? Do you doubt that?
Well, one of the issues I did talk to him yesterday was exactly this issue, and he has agreed to work with me on this and to protect all residents. So this is something I care deeply about, and so I will be an advocate on these issues. These are things that I think are important to New Yorkers, and I will work with him when he gets elected, to make sure everyone is protected. I also, on a federal level, work to get resources for all our religious sites in the state and in the city. I lead the letter for funding for I lead the letter for the funding to protect synagogues and churches and temples and places of worship across our city and state. And these are things that he has assured me in my one conversation that he will protect everyone. But I understand why people are concerned because of past statements. And so this is just an issue that I will work with him on for sure.
I just feel compelled to say we can find no evidence that he has supported Hamas or has supported violent jihad, as that caller was asserting. Can you?
Here we go.
Again, Brian, I don't have all the data and information, and I've never sat down with Mr. Mamdani. So I've asked to have that meeting. I'm going to have that meeting. We will talk through all these things. He can tell me his views of the world, and I can learn them firsthand. I think the reference that I had read was global intifada specifically, which has very serious meanings that are violent and destructive. So
which he says, and I pressed him on this on the show on Monday, but which he says are not calls for violence because intifada is a much broader term involving all kinds of uprisings and resistance and things like that. So I just want to be clear about how at least he defines it. And maybe he needs to be more clear. I don't mean this. I don't mean that. He did say here that he didn't want to be the word police, even as the mayor of New York if he's elected. But I do also want to be clear that he said he does not support violent intifada. Is that fair?
So, Brian, I didn't hear your exchange with him, but if I was speaking to him directly, I would simply say that is not how the words are received. And it doesn't matter what meaning you have in your brain, it is not how the word is received. And when you use a word like intifada to many Jewish Americans and Jewish New Yorkers, that means you are permissive for violence against Jews. It is a serious word. It is a word that has deep meaning. It has been used for wars across time and violence and destruction and slaughter and murder against the Jews. It is a harmful, hurtful, inappropriate word for anyone who wants to represent a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people. And I would be very specific in these words, and I would say you may not use them again if you expect to represent everyone ever again, because they are received as hateful and divisive and harmful, and that's it. So I appreciate that he told you he didn't mean that, and that's great. That's
and
great
I think we also clarify, or he was clarifying that he never said globalize the intifada. He was asked in an interview if he would denounce the phrase globalize the intifada, and then that led to this kind of conversation, that you were just referring to. But that he was never out there saying globalize the intifada. He was asked about other people who use it. So
did he ever say globalize the intifada? I don't think he's ever said it. No, it's what this guy's just saying now. But people asked him about his feelings about it, and I think he said that. I don't know. He kind of talked around it and made kind of excuses for it, but
just to be precise about what happened there. Yes.
Well, as a leader of a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people, as the largest Jewish population in the country, he should denounce it, and that's it. Period. And you can't celebrate it, you can't value it, you can't lift it up, and that is the challenge that Jewish New Yorkers have had certainly since October 6th. October 7th. It is exactly what they have felt. It is why Jewish students in our universities have felt unsafe. It is why Jewish students have felt that their schools did not have their back and cared about them or their learning, because the people doing these protests use words that have meanings that are far more violent and horrific than they may have intended. But when you hear things like intifada, when you hear things like
did you ever? I don't think you were. I don't know if you were active this time. Did you ever watch when the Harvard president lady was asked whether or not anti-Semitism was considered not okay? Fuck, I don't remember the specific thing. It was what was it? You could say
the answer is no.
Yeah, she was asked it was a question that I feel like she could have given a basic answer to, or given a more expanded answer to. It was would you ban anti-Semitic hate speech or whatever on campus or something like that? And she just kept saying no, and I feel like smiling she was being sneaky or whatever. And I think there was a broader answer that you could probably say, where it's we don't ban any type of speech like this on campus, regardless of who it's aimed towards. But the way that she answers is just so stupid.
Telling.
Yeah, it felt like if I was a Jewish student, I'd be that's kind of, I don't know how I feel about that one.
Jihad, when you hear from the river to the sea, it is received as slaughter the Jews and destroy Israel. Period. It's how it's received. And if you talk to any group, you talk to our LGBTQ community, you talk to our black community, you talk to our Hispanic community, there are words and there are imagery and there are things that are said that they will hear it and feel it as a dagger to their throat. And so if you want to be a leader, you have to recognize how these things are felt and received and say...
Oh, it was this. Oh, fuck. That quote is even dumber if that's what it was. Hold on.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking, specifically calling for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or no?
becomes, if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide?
Yeah, like what? I guess she means like attacking.
That's crazy, yeah.
But it's like the issue too is that, like I said, like I didn't actually look into the policy, but like there might be a world where they're like, no, actually we can't criminalize certain forms of speech because there's like, you know, First Amendment protections or whatever. Like maybe that is the case, but if that's the case, she should have explained it better, because the impression that I'm sure the average person has, I know the impression that I have, is that if somebody were to walk around saying like white lives matter or something, would they be allowed to do that on a college campus, or would they consider this like a call for violence or something, or like, you know, like anti-BLM slogans? I have a hard time feeling like they treat it the same. That's just the impression I have. Maybe I've been too brainwashed by conservative media, but I just feel like the answers here, especially given like all of the protests and the violence and everything else that was going on, it's just crazy to be so evasive about how they answered this. It was so fucking stupid.
Sir, yes.
If it if the
yes
speech
or no?
becomes if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual. Targeted at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish.
What does that mean? Targeted at an individual? So like if somebody walked up and said genocide the Jews to one Jew, it's not okay. But if they said it to like 20 or like, it's just it's so dumb. These answers are so dumb.
Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of anti-Semitism? I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric.
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
I wish you would ask, can you give me like an example of where it wouldn't cross the line?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think there were people trying to farm clips off of this, which is what they do in a lot of these open hearings. But it was just crazy that like they wouldn't elaborate more or defend that point more. But I mean, what are you gonna do?
There should be no word police. It's irresponsible. Because as a leader, you have to protect everyone. Period.
One more thing before you go. For you as a member of...
So you said that she called him a jihadist, huh?
Take it, Moon. I'll let you do it.
So the exact quote, well, the caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They're alarmed by his past public statements. They're alarmed by his past positions, particularly in references to global jihad. So they're alarmed in his past positions in reference to global jihad. This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews, meaning Mamdani, create fear in our communities. Yeah, I think that's pretty bad.
This was probably from the video clip we saw was probably
that's why
the
she
same interview,
apologized.
but maybe not from the same.
That's why
part
she
of the interview.
apologized too, because it was bad.
Now, because Jolah's reading a quote that's conflicting
What was the
or
next
not in
sentence?
the clip. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that was from 119 in the clip.
Oh, that was actually in the
She said, she says it one time, and then immediately in the next sentence she corrects it and says global intifada.
She says jihad again in the final minute again, and she claims that he used the word global intifada and jihad and everything.
Why did she say that in the final area?
She just assumes that he said it.
No,
sir?
you're wrong.
Link me the post.
She literally says she doesn't know if he said it or not. She has to collect the facts. She said she'd sit down and talk to him. She literally said that in the thing they just listened to. But
Yeah, she assumes he said it throughout it. And the radio host had, you can listen to it. The radio host had to correct her 3 times. The radio host had to correct her 3 times, right?
Here, Wick, I'm linking it to you.
Why was the radio host correcting her 3 times?
Because that's
Why
not
did
what
the radio host
happened.
need to correct her 3 times? Why did he correct her 3 times?
What do you mean?
He didn't correct her.
When was he correcting
He simply
her?
asked for clarification.
Yeah,
right?
why did he need
She
to clarify
was
3
very
times? Why did he need
clear.
to?
Do we need to re-listen to the 6-minute clip? Were you ADHD'd out?
She started off by saying that he comments in reference to global jihad and globalizing intifada. She said it again. She said that it
Pull the clip
glorifies
back
the
up.
killing of
We
Jews.
actually gotta
And
go
then at the very end, after he says, "Are you sure he said that?" She says, "It doesn't matter if he said it or not. He should condemn it." Is that not right?
I'm going to read the quote. Well, the caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad. This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. That's not saying that Mr. Mamdani is a jihadist in any way, shape, or form. Why are you characterizing this as something it's not? When we have the transcript right here, we can read it. She never says in
He's
this
wicking
entire
out.
exchange
Gillibrand's apology says, Gillibrand apologized, this is in writing from her office, for mischaracterizing Mamdani's record and for her tone on the call. Why did she apologize about mischaracterizing? Everybody knows about this except you guys because you are brain broken by online
literally
lefties.
saying that she called
This is one of the reasons why a lot of these lefties and the super socialist guys, remember, and the MAGA people, this is why they never, ever apologize for anything ever. Because now one of the things you can do is you can always point to, well, unless it's an actually abhorrent thing, but they don't actually apologize, but other people might say that they've apologized to get the heat off them. But the apology is somehow proof that she did like the worst possible thing ever. It's one of the reasons why I brought this up a few times. I'm a little irritated about the ECA changes where they changed the law, and then now a lot of MAGA people are like, well, look, obviously, they were able to steal the election because they had to change the law to make it so that you can't steal the election. It's like, oh my God, come on.
Gillibrand's office.
She absolutely did not call him a jihadist.
Why did she apologize for her mischaracterization of Mamdani's record and for her tone on the call?
Every time you criticize anyone on the left, you get harassed. So she's
Was she not wrong to say that Mamdani spoke?
Like the actual answer here is her. Like I could see how somebody maybe could take her statements like a wrong way. Like I could see that, especially if you have people like Jonah who are dedicated to misinterpreting everything that moderate people say. And I think it was good for her to just like clarify. Like, well, no, I don't want to give the impression that Mamdani has said, he values like the Intifada or that he is a jihadist or whatever. I think it was fine for her to apologize for it, but she didn't call him a jihadist. He gives a much, much, much worse impression of what that conversation was than what actually happened,
Of jihad and globalizing Intifada, that he referenced jihad and globalizing Intifada.
I'm pretty sure
Did he do that?
I don't know. I haven't watched every Mamdani
As
clip.
Mamdani glorified the killing of Jews and repeated globalizing Intifada and supported global jihad.
Mamdani clip.
You know who did
That's why she apologized.
I think you're ripping the context from it a little bit there.
Yeah, you're literally, yeah, you are.
I think she was trying to. She very specifically contextualized and said.
Governor Hochul also commented on the racism Mamdani is already facing, including from New York's own Kirsten Gillibrand. So even Kathy Hochul, the centrist governor of New York,
Nice
backed
appeal
up
to
what I'm
authority.
saying.
Very good. We get
That's
it.
not appeal to authority.
That
That's
literally
talking
is.
about the Democrats on the ground who also have the same interpretation I did and what most Democrats did interpret.
So your
You guys are broken
interpretation
by
is
online left
absolutely
community, so you don't have the same
wrong.
interpretation.
You're literally on here lying again. You've lied twice now. You came on here and said she called him a jihadist. She did not call him a jihadist. You're literally wrong twice.
Saying that he referenced global jihad and globalizing Intifada in a positive
calling
way,
him a jihadist,
in my opinion, saying you support jihadism, yes.
Well, then you're retarded.
Categorically, you are ideologically a jihadist, yes. You didn't, not that you did it, but that you believe in the use of force and violence.
I want to be clear. Kirsten Gillibrand never even said that he said.
See, this is the issue, though. The entire Democratic Party agreed this was a bad statement and called it out.
Several times during the call.
I gotta go read the apology because I don't even believe you on the apology because you're a liar.
A supermajority of Democrats heard exactly what I heard.
Including
No,
what
Governor
they did
of New
is they
York
listened
and
to
Gillibrand herself.
Twitters and TikToks claim that's what she said and just lie about what she said, and then
Everybody can read it for themselves. Everybody can read it.
Yeah, everybody can also go listen to the clip and hear that you're a fucking liar,
She
man.
took it back. Everybody, you can't even point out the lies you're claiming.
We
I
just
don't think
did.
it does it any good to call it a lie. I think this is just people in different information
Now
bubbles.
he's lied twice.
It's incorrect. It's not.
That is correct, but this guy is the one creating the misinformation bubble. It's his bubble, yes.
I don't believe it's intentional. I think
You're
this is
wrong.
legitimately how he sees it. I think this is the information
supermajority of
presented to him.
Democrats.
I can understand his perspective and where it comes from. I wouldn't call it a lie.
Stop it. No. Can you understand like Trump's perspective where he comes from when he says that he's winning the Iran war? No, we can look at things. We can
you
look
think
at
Jolah is
activism.
equally
The job
as
of a
dishonest
broadcaster,
as
the job of an
Yes,
influencer
yes.
isn't to hear someone
nobody
say
said yes.
it's raining and hear another guy say it's not raining and then say, well, both sides have a point. It's to go out, look through the window and see if it's raining or not, and then say who is
It's the
correct.
exact same
That is
media
a win.
strategy.
If I say, for
That is
example,
so much
if I say Wick has made comments glorifying the killing of black people, and Wick had made comments glorifying the assistance of the KKK, what do people assume about you, Wick? If you glorify,
Wait, what?
Who is correct?
That is a way more.
Wait, Eliminator, thank you for the 5 gifted kicks. I was going to say kicks, that's fuck.
Say, for example,
so
if
much
I
more
say that,
stupid of
if I say Wick has made comments glorifying the killing of black people, and Wick had made comments glorifying the assistance of the KKK, what do people?
The assistance?
Wick has made comments glorifying the killing of black people, and Wick had made comments glorifying the assistance of the KKK. What do people?
Glorifying the assistance of the KKK? I don't know that.
I don't know what he means. So.
People assume about you, Wick, if you glorify the killing of black people and the KKK. If I claim you made those
Where
comments,
did you see those clips? Where'd you find
you can read the transcript that we just watched. That's why she apologized. That's why Kathy Hochul apologized. That's why the radio interviewer had to have her
That is
clarify
not the
3
problem.
times.
You were saying that she called him a jihadist. She did not do that.
Did she reference that he supported jihadism?
Did she
No.
say Mamdani is a
I don't
jihadist?
even think, no.
The quote wasn't that she. No, the quote was not that he supported it. The quote was
His
she
position
didn't
was
like the
unclear.
way that he spoke referencing it. She's saying she didn't like the way he spoke about jihad and global intifada.
I'm sorry.
And-
Jolah earlier
I'm gonna read
literally
another
had
quote. I'm gonna read
said.
another quote.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the issues I did talk. This is Kirsten speaking. Kirsten Gillibrand. Well, one of the issues I did talk to him yesterday was exactly this issue, and he's agreed to work with me on this and protect all residents. So this is something I care about I care deeply about, and so I will be. So I will be an advocate on these issues. These are things that I think are important to New Yorkers, and I will work with him when he gets elected, if he gets elected, to make sure everyone is protected. That's her saying in this entire clip. Is her repeating, like, Mamdani is willing to work with me to protect the residents of New York City and to protect Jewish people. Then she goes off and talks about how when people talk about global intifada, they hear kill the Jews, right? And that's a fair thing to say. That's a fair point to have. She had no need to apologize for that at all, right? I think that one of the problems we're having on the left.
Wait, was he reading her apology? Or?
Everyone is protected. That's her saying in this entire clip.
Please,
Is her
did we
repeating.
find the apology?
Like,
I just want to hear what the apology sounded like.
Is willing to work with me to protect the residents of New York City and to protect Jewish people. Then she goes off and talks about how when people talk about global intifada, they hear kill the Jews, right? And that's a fair thing to say. That's a fair point to have. She had no need to apologize for that at all, right? I think that one of the problems we're having on the left is people are forced to make apologies when they have done nothing wrong. And I think this is what happened here.
Why are we still on this, dude? We're not. We're over it. But we're finishing watching Mr. Mouton's debate performance on it.
This criticism, it wasn't even criticism of Mamdani. It was just criticism of people being flippant with words, right? And again, to characterize this as Kirsten Gillibrand saying that he was a jihadist is just dishonest.
I saw the apology from Gillibrand. And she apologized for associating Mamdani with jihadism. In my opinion, when you say it, like, when someone says globalize the intifada, are you not saying they support jihadism? Are you saying they do not support the intifada?
I mean, isn't in a weird way, isn't Jolah kind of proving the point that, like, if you support the globalize the intifada statement, doesn't that kind of make you a jihadist? Like, that's what people are going to think. Wasn't that Kirsten Gillibrand's entire point on the radio show, that these two things seem to be closely linked together? Isn't that the whole point? I don't know. Notice also how triggered lefties get over any hint of Islamophobia. Yeah, no. I brought that up, and you're right. You're absolutely right to bring that up here. Yeah, because this is one of my big complaints when it comes to my anti-Semitic thing. We carve out so many exceptions for what we consider anti-Semitic. We carve out so many exceptions, but when they get even the slightest feeling that something might be even the slightest amount of, like, Islamophobic, whoo, they fucking go on attack mode.
Say that again. It didn't.
If you say someone supports globalizing the intifada, what do you assume about that person?
That they support the globalizing the intifada. Did she say that in this clip?
If you say someone references jihadism, what do you assume about that person if they reference jihadism in relation to not protecting New York Jews?
Again, I'm looking through this. I can't see a spot where... Here it is. We will talk through all these things. He can tell me his views of the world, and I can learn them firsthand. I think the reference that I had read was global intifada, specifically, which has very serious meanings that are... Again, sorry, excuse me.
She thinks the reference that she read
that are serious meanings that are violent and destructive, which he says, and I pressed him on this on the show on Monday, but which he says are not calls for violence because intifada is a much broader term involving all kinds of uprisings and resistance and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was ready to, just based off assumptions, say that, yeah, sure, it's a 70-year-old lady that doesn't understand the issue very well, but she put a lot of nuance and even room.
She did the destiny hedge, where it doesn't actually fucking matter because people are going to clip you or just lie about what you say anyway.
Or him to, come back to a more rational position there. I didn't find that to be offensive or worth apologizing.
Do you think it's bad that she has a problem with people who use words like intifada? Do you think that's worth apologizing for? Do you think that's something she should be that's Islamophobic or anything like that?
I think tying Mamdani to intifada and also jihadism without speaking to him about it first and having to apologize after is a negative association she made with Zoran and those terms.
Can you answer my question?
Oh, now we're tying him to jihadism instead of saying
it's
he's
bad to be in favor of jihadism and globalizing intifada. Yeah, that's why I think it's bad that she associated him with it off the rip. And she did correct it
June
after.
17th, the Bulwark directly asked Mamdani about the phrases globalized intifada and from the river to the sea. His response did not condemn the slogan. Instead, he argued, quote, "What I hear is in so many is a desperate desire for equality and equal rights in the standing up for Palestinian human rights."
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I said she walked it back right away. I wasn't disputing that at all.
I don't know why we're talking about her when we're talking about what Mamdani said there.
And Mamdani ended up condemning it.
Ended up? What does that have to do with anything? That's not even remotely related to the current argument. And if anything, it seems to further. Notice how when Gillibrand apologized, I guess, if she did. I don't know if they've read one or if they found that out. But notice how when she apologized, that was evidence that she made the worst comment that Jolah is accusing her of. But when Mamdani walks it back, I guess he's just a saint. Like, there was no wrongdoing for him to have to walk back or change his position on a thing, I guess.
My claim was about her first reaction was that he associated with jihadism and globalizing the Intifada without any proof of him saying either of those things.
It sounds like she criticized him for not being hard enough on the concept of global Intifada.
Also, this interview was before he had walked back.
He took it back. He became more critical of the concept of global Intifada.
Yeah, probably
so it sounds like
interviews like
he agrees
this.
with her criticism. It sounds like he agrees with her criticism.
Yep, sounds like it.
Now, I am very sensitive to the idea of the establishment or just any politicians abusing Islamophobia against candidates. I'm very sensitive to that issue. I think there have been cases of that, certainly against Mamdani, obviously, but I don't think this is that situation. I think this is a good show of the information bubbles that we live in, where there is so much of a focus on the...
Well, but you're content creators. I understand we're also in information bubbles, but Jolah is part of the problem here. He's creating the bad information bubble, right? He's not a victim here. He's a perpetrator of it.
Establishment versus the anti-establishment, and the campism that has grown so that we see things in the most favorable light to our sides. Because like I still watch the Majority Report. I put on radioactive proof brain tinfoil on when I watch it, but it helps me understand the different media bubbles that we live in. And there are some legitimate points where the establishment is even abusing Islamophobia in some small cases. I just don't think this was it. I think we should be on the lookout for those things, but I don't know if this was egregious on any level. I think they got pushed into an apology because Mamdani was so popular and these issues flared up, and I think there was a legitimate decrying of the abuse of Islamophobia against Mamdani, but I don't think this was that. I think she caught a stray on this one.
Yeah, I disagree. I agree with the majority of Democratic voters on this. But
her spokesman in 2025 said Senator Gillibrand misspoke in that instance. As she noted subsequently, her concern was the refusal to denounce globalized Intifada rhetoric. She also highlighted that Mr. Mamdani assured her that if elected, he would protect Jews and all residents of New York City.
So did she misspeak or not? Because you're saying she did not misspeak.
When did I say she didn't
Hey, Kyle, I sent you a DM. Can we pull that up? I want to talk to Jolah about this one.
Very good. Pull it up. And okay, so it seems to be a video. I will...
Well, the tweet specifically about the video. This is from Jolah.
Oh, okay. Very well.
Oh, boy.
Another one.
So sharing screen.
Haley Stevens might be racist. Oh, my God. Jolah, what are you doing here?
Yeah, what is
this?
This
is a good one. It was funny.
Haley Stevens versus Abdul El Sayed is up in Michigan.
Really funny,
I was proud to work with Obama, end quote. And you're sharing this TikTok of some sort, or maybe, I don't know, what is this, right? Like a thing. Can we watch it real quick? Can we see what you said?
Sure. Let's, oh, right.
Oh, God bless America.
Yeah,
we're a real show, which is why we have Twitter installed.
Oh, can we not see it?
Hey, I don't know if it's going to share any sensitive information, but I'm going to stop streaming just in case so I can log in.
Type your password out. You won't, pussy.
I would if it was just North. Shout out to North, but he actually saw me accidentally stream my credit card info once. I haven't seen any purchases from California, so I can only assume that that's because he's an ethical
North is an honest man. That's a real G right there.
Oh, for Christ. It wants me to enter a code.
Okay. Regardless, right? Did you call Haley Stevens a racist? And what was...
No, you have to watch the full video to understand it.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Oh, no.
Of course you do. James, do you by chance happen...
No, it actually is, yeah. It's the point of the video, yeah. Because I gave her credit in the video.
Okay, I guess we'll find out.
Oh, give her credit in the video. Okay.
If anybody else happens to have a Twitter account...
I can. Do you want me to stream it?
Stream it for us, buddy.
That might be faster than me setting all that up.
Thank you, Patriot.
Hold on.
Thank you, Wick.
Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Okay, ready for me to go through? It's about a minute long. Minute and a half. Let's watch.
That's right. Haley at her events, she sees a bunch of white people, she sees a black person, she's like, hey, you, I work with Obama, vote for me. Wait, you people do like Obama, right? I'm gonna walk up to random black people and be like, hey, I supported Barack Obama. Fist bump, buddy.
Just as a quick thing, in case a lot of you people might not know this, okay? Black people do like Obama. I know that might be a shock to some people, okay? Now, not that you should be full get out about it, but I mean, if you worked with Obama. There was a guy who ran in 2020, I think, it was in the Democratic presidential primary, and he worked with Obama a lot. He was the vice president.
Where I have gone in Michigan, I have taken the time to visit a minority-owned business.
I'm so happy to be around all of my minorities in this minority-owned business. This is not how normal people talk. I've seen Haley Stevens sound pretty good sometimes, but her consultants right now, and she only listens to consultants, it's really bad. She's talking about Abdul El-Sayed's podcast, his podcasting career. There are much better things to hit about his career than his podcasting. And she's going around like, Barack Obama endorses me, Gretchen Whitmer endorses me. Her answers to questions are who endorses her. Stand on your own business. Stand on yourself, Haley. Be confident. You are talking
When did she ever say Barack Obama endorsed her, huh?
Data points in your electoral math. And that is true. Campaigns look at it that way. Consultants look at it that way. But that's why Haley Stevens' campaign is not connecting. I think Mallory McMorrow had a better campaign. Too bad she dropped out pretty early. But it is what it is in Michigan right now. Abdul El-Sayed is up by 10 or 15 points, unless if there's a big shift at the end of the race. His betting odds are at 95% chance for him to win. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please drop a like, repost this video on the homepage for more.
I got some likes. I'm not gonna leave them in your comments, not some likes. I got some thoughts, but I'm not gonna leave them in your comments, man. I'll just direct you. This calling her racist because she's proud of her work with Obama, or that she's trying to include minority communities in her campaign, and then lying about her saying that Obama endorsed her. I feel that this is just a fundamentally dishonest way of
this is just like pure internet autism too, because obviously at the end it's just like tongue in cheek, like, oh, this person endorsed me, this person supports me. Yeah, I don't know.
Are you saying I'm being autistic right now?
I thought it was pretty funny.
So it's all just jokes, right?
No, it's not all just jokes, but I think the whole tone of the video was pretty jovial.
I don't think so. I think you were doing serious-ish political commentary there, and you got caught lying, and you look like an idiot.
True. Damn. Why are you such an asshole?
I think while you are using humor, I think you are brushing over and
this guy.
abusing the accusation of racism to create a bigger political message there. And I don't think you're doing that, intentionally or cynically.
Pandering, obviously. The pandering is the joke.
Yeah, you're mocking their pandering. I think.
Were you joking about this? Were you joking that you thought
there's a little bit of a? I think there's a Schrodinger's joke there. It's a joke when it's a joke, but it's not a joke when you need it to be. The barb still sets, even though you're pretending it's just a joke. You're still setting that poisoned barb in there. And I personally am not going to say that I think you're a bad person for doing it that way. I think it's just you're putting poison into the discourse when you do it that way.
Damn.
You get the communist on your ass. That's not good.
The discourse.
Like I'd send that to my buddies, but I wouldn't try and use that in the algorithm and put it into the greater discourse personally. I think it's unless you're like pedal to the metal cynical, okay? Unless you want to be pedal.
Like I think these guys actually are pretty cool, both these dudes. Like I do kind of agree with that. Like if you maybe even as part of another video, like look at her out here saying like, blah. It's like, okay, we get it. You're trying to campaign to black people. We got it, buddy. But like this is a whole video, and I think the title of the video, or at least the thumbnail, was literally like Haley Stevens is racist. It was like the direct subject out of the video. So I feel like that makes it hit a little bit different there.
The metal cynical. If you want to use these little, toxic moments in the discourse to promote, I wouldn't necessarily say I'll respect that, but I'd understand it. I understand it. I understand that in this media landscape, we have to use a little bit of rocket fuel to get things going. I just want to make sure that it's a safe rocket, okay? I want to make a safe rocket. And I think that's what Mom Donnie does. I think Mom Donnie perfectly, he elevates it without using the toxic elements of this rocket fuel style social media engagement. And I think you're capable of doing that too, Jolah. I think you are.
Aww.
I think you can do it. I think it was a funny video. I think it was funny.
Democrats have a message better. I stand by it. I stand by all of this. I stand by a majority of Democratic voters. I stand by the idea we need to work with Democratic voters and where they're going, and they want the party to change. And you guys don't push for the party to change. And when I make jokes like this, it is mocking. It is.
See, and it's also funny because look, he's doing the same thing too. He understands it's one way, right? He can do the he can call her a racist and it's like funny and whatever else. But for that Gillibrand thing, she basically called him Mamdani a jihadist. It's like, well, that's not really all what she said. And it's like, okay, but some people could have interpreted her words that way possibly. Like the potential for somebody to misinterpret an implication is enough to condemn the Democratic person there. But then for him to just like flat out lie, like that's okay. Cringe.
Not going to be in that tone. But overall, when I give a messaging advice to Haley Stevens, the overall point is Democrats need to be better. And if I'm going to shit talk a little bit and go back and forth, the shit talk is fine. And people that watch my TikTok regularly know that I'm a sarcastic asshole sometimes. And when we go through these different points, I also have videos on my channel giving Haley Stevens the most credit in the world and Mallory McMorrow. So I have a huge balanced approach on my TikTok. If you judge a political opinion off a 60-second TikTok, then yeah, you can say it could be bad in a microcosm of that example size. But no, I stand by the post. I think it's pretty funny.
Let me give you a little advice then. Don't lie in your TikToks and mess.
Like that's a crazy thing to say. My quote, what I say when people try to challenge me on 30-second videos or whatever is that I don't make 30-second videos. So whatever you're seeing is a thing that somebody else has taken from my content and then put in front of you. I didn't choose that, okay? You have to, at the very least, I would implore you to watch whatever the context of where it came from. But this is not a compilation that somebody else put together of his stuff. This is a thing that he decided to publish. So you have to assume that it somewhat represents your viewpoint. Otherwise, you're misrepresenting yourself? Like, that doesn't make it... How do you even explain that, Like, it's your whole video.
Expect people to take you seriously.
I think it was funny. It was
Why do you think you're saying it was funny?
Because I said, Obama endorsed me. Because first off, I said, I work for Obama. And then I said, I'm endorsed by this person. Yeah, it's obviously, I'm making a very serious political point in that tone. That is how she sounded in the debate.
Oh my
I think even Wick made a joke about that. Where Abdul said about APAC, and then Haley Stevens said, I'm endorsed by. So if you want to be like, oh, that particular word wasn't correct in there, I still said working with Obama. And obviously it's a jovial tone video. And the interpretation on the ground of all the flyers, and the same way that Trump put out flyers in Pennsylvania and had voters believing that he was pro raising Social Security, increasing the payments and increasing healthcare coverage through Medicaid. The same way you could throw flyers around Michigan and have people believe that because Obama's on every single flyer on the front page and they only send that front page flyer with Obama to black voters, yeah, it's pandering.
You can keep words out if you like, but you lied in the video and it's cringe and stupid.
I'm talking about actual politics. I'm talking about the point I was getting across with that video, and I know you know what that means. You just want to pin it on that point.
Yeah, I'm going to pin it on you lying in the video, and your video could have been better if you didn't lie and didn't use that phrase.
Fucking loser.
Okay, next time I won't in a sarcastic voice say endorsed by Obama after I said work for Obama. And I showed the clip of her saying that she worked with Obama.
Good, you shouldn't.
Yep. Okay.
If this is gonna be the left, we're gonna get destroyed by MAGA. This is why you guys having this whole like communist theory.
We don't have to lie. We don't have to lie. I think not lying makes us better than MAGA and makes it more likely that we are going to win. One of the problems I'm having is I'm with you. The Democrats' messaging needs to be better. It needs to change. But when we start lying, it gets worse. It doesn't get better. It becomes more MAGA-like. And one of the most insidious things about the DSA, the left, and all these people, right, coming in, is they are trying to make us more like MAGA. And if I have to become MAGA to defeat MAGA, I've lost. We've lost. And we don't have to is the thing. This is a false choice. We do not have to become more like them in order to win. We don't. We can simply draw bright red lines, take a stand for something, and message it much better than we have been, and we will do much better than we are doing right now. I just think that, again, you could just say, yeah, I messed up, man. You could just say,
nope.
I was lying. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Outbound
and we respect you
only.
You didn't even say you're lying. You say you made a mistake.
No, outbound only.
So again, we are looking to wrap up the main conversation in about 15 minutes for people who have sleep schedules and live on the East Coast. We will be open for call-ins if anybody would like to stick around and chat with callers. Otherwise, if you have to bounce, obviously feel free, and we appreciate you being here. With these last 15 minutes, though, I want to refocus us a little bit more on the DSA as a whole and talk about where our lines are.
Cringe.
Okay. Good job, Moody.